Chapter 724. Gu Jingze continued to stare at him quietly. So, don't worry. I treat Lin Che very well, unlike you, who are so heartless to women, Gu Jingze. He suddenly punched Gu Jingze's stomach again. This time, although Gu Jingze did not make a sound, his face turned pale. It was obvious that Li Mingyu had used a lot of strength. This time, I hit you on behalf of Huiling. Do you know what Huiling has become because of you? If you loved her, you wouldn't have the heart to let her become like this. But you hurt her so badly. The more Li Mingyu spoke, the more ruthless he became. Gu Jingze looked ahead expressionlessly. I've said it before, I don't have feelings for her anymore. It's her own wishful thinking. She made her own choice, and I didn't want her to become like this. Li Mingyu found it even more unbelievable. You've been with her for so many years, and it's gone just like that? Gu Jingze, you're too heartless. Gu Jingze looked at Li Mingyu and said, At first, I thought I had feelings for her. But later on, I realized that my feelings for her were not what I thought they were. I advise you to think about it. Do you really like her? Is it worth it to do something wrong for her? Gu Jingze thought about it carefully. He had never cared about Mo Huiling so much. Although he had thought about being with her for the rest of his life, that feeling was different. Li Mingyu laughed and looked at Gu Jingze. So you have feelings for Lin Che? Ha, that's not feelings. You're just a hypocrite. You like her looks and body. You like your vanity, not Lin Che. Gu Jingze shook his head and said quietly, When I think about being with Mo Huiling, I never have any expectations for the future, but he slowly raised his head with a gentle expression on his face. When I'm with Lin Che, I always think of the words, spending the rest of my life together. And I'm looking forward to it, really looking forward to it. Li Mingyu was stunned. Gu Jingze said, What about you? Do you have such feelings for Mo Huiling? Li Mingyu looked at him. He really hadn't expected this. It seemed that he was serious. Li Mingyu also felt that when he was with Lin Che, he felt very comfortable. Lin Che was not hateful, and she gave people a very natural feeling. Although they had only known each other for a short time, it was easy to feel a sense of familiarity when looking at her. However, he still couldn't understand why the great Gu Jingze would be so infatuated with Lin Che. Was it just because it was comfortable to be together? At this moment, someone came to look for Li Mingyu. Li Mingyu let go of Gu Jingze. There's still a lot of time. Let's take it slow. As he walked out, his subordinate said to him, Miss Lin said she wanted to eat hot pot. Li Mingyu took a deep breath, looked back at Gu Jingze, and said to his subordinates, Keep an eye on him. If he dares to do anything, teach him a lesson. With that, he left the place. A few subordinates looked at the man inside. They had seen Gu Jingze before, but they had been very far away at that time. After all, they could only hear about such a high and mighty person from the rumors. They could only look at him from afar, but they could never touch him. They had always thought that Gu Jingze was very powerful, extraordinary, and mysterious. Especially this time, when he barged into the Li family's manor alone and killed so many of their brothers. This person's supernatural abilities amazed them even more. Such a person was actually tied up right in front of him. He walked in alone and looked at Gu Jingze. At first, he didn't dare to look at him. Then, he thought that even though Gu Jingze was powerful, he was still tied up. What was there to be afraid of? Thus, he walked over with a cold smile, looked at Gu Jingze, and said, Come and see who this is. Io, isn't this Gu Jingze? Why are you tied up here? The others saw that he was going to touch Gu Jingze, so they also walked over boldly. After all, Gu Jingze was really a rare person. Thus, everyone looked at him with a smile and said, Gu Jingze is alive. Tsk. I thought he was so powerful, but he's still tied up by us. Am I right? As soon as he said that, he saw Gu Jingze's pitch-black eyes slowly move towards them. In an instant, it made people think of hell. That person couldn't help but swallow his saliva. But he immediately realized that he was still tied up. What was there to be afraid of? Thus, he went forward and punched Gu Jingze. What are you looking at? Our chiefly said that if you dare to resist, we'll teach you a lesson. That punch made the back of his hand hurts. He cursed, Damn, who is this person? Why is his body so hard? Seeing this, the other man scolded, "Useless." Then, he punched Gu Jingze's body hard. Without exception, he also felt that this man was really unyielding. Whether it was his body or his gaze, he was so arrogant that it made people feel even more inferior. Even though he was the one who was tied up and they were the ones who were beating him up, the look in his eyes made them feel that Gu Jingze was still a high and mighty king and they were just ants. He couldn't help but feel guilty, but this made him even angrier. He continued to hit Gu Jingze. "Damn, look at me again." The others also joined in and hit Gu Jingze together. "Call me daddy and we'll stop." "Damn, you're really unyielding. You don't want to call me that? How dare you fucking look at me like that? Close your eyes." The angrier they were, the more they wanted to scold him. But the more they scolded, the lower they felt. Gu Jingze still didn't move. His lips were tightly pursed. The darkness in his eyes and the expression on his face were all filled with disdain. This made the others even angrier. After a while, they were all tired and Gu Jingze's body was full of injuries. However, Gu Jingze's face didn't look the slightest bit bad. On the contrary, a few people's hands were red from beating him up. They looked at Gu Jingze and cursed, "You've got guts." But I'm still your daddy." Gu Jingze narrowed his eyes and turned his face away. Although he was already very weak, his eyes didn't show any signs of weakness. The innate aura of a king still made him look incomparably noble. Finally, a few people couldn't take it anymore. They walked over and started beating Gu Jingze again. On the other side, Lin Che saw Li Mingyu come in. She looked at him and said, "The food here is terrible." Li Mingyu said, "How is that possible? It's not like our country, see. There's too much sweet food here. I'm sick of it every day." Li Mingyu looked speechlessly at the untouched food she had placed at the side. He said, "Seriously, you're so troublesome. How can Gu Jingze tolerate you?" Lin Che said, "Hey, you're the one who invited me here as a distinguished guest. Is this how you treat distinguished guests now? I want to eat hot pot." Li Mingyu looked at her helplessly. "I'll get someone to prepare it for you later." "Hey, hot pot is for everyone to eat together. You're just letting me eat alone." Li Mingyu said, "Are you thinking of something again?" Chapter 725. Lin Che said, "How is that possible? What tricks can I play? Isn't everything under your control? Besides, are you afraid that I'll play tricks?" Li Mingyu raised his eyebrows and looked at her. "Don't play tricks on me just because I treat you well." "Huh, I really want to play tricks on you. Are you afraid of my tricks?" She raised her eyebrows and looked at him. Li Mingyu looked at her sparkling eyes and laughed. "Okay, I'll eat hot pot with you." Li Mingyu suddenly asked someone to prepare hot pot. It was a little strange, but Li Mingyu had always been casual, so everyone was used to it. Soon, he got someone to prepare everything. Lin Che's appetite was whetted when he saw the hot pot. He immediately asked someone to prepare it. Looking at the bubbling food, he immediately said, "Come and try it. It's really delicious." Li Mingyu shook his head. "I'm already sick of this kind of food that kids like to eat." Lin Che looked at him and asked, "Why? You've eaten hot pot before?" "Of course. I've told you before. Don't think that I'm like your husband, who grew up with a silver spoon in his mouth. I started from scratch and lived a hard life. I used to eat hot pot before, unlike your husband, who has always been a noble person." Lin Che glared at him. He felt that he was quite petty, constantly criticizing Gu Jingze. Li Mingyu still walked over and started eating with Lin Che. Lin Che said, "Then what did you do in the past?" "Everything. I sold shoes, worked in the mines." Lin Che said, "You don't look old. Why are you bragging?" Li Mingyu said, "I started working when I was 15, and I've been working hard for almost 20 years. Lin Che said, "I see. Then it must have been hard on you." "Of course. You were still wearing open-crotch pants at home." "I started working with the nanny when I was 10. I started delivering newspapers to make ends meet when I was 12. I started working to pay for my own school fees when I was 15. These are just experiences for you. It is said that your family is not the mayor of B City. But I'm an illegitimate child. I was bullied by my 2 older sisters at home, and the money I received for school was deducted by them. When they saw me earning money outside, they even said that I stole their pocket money. In the end, they robbed me of my money and I was locked in a dark room by my father. In the end, the nanny couldn't stand it anymore and secretly let me go. She even lent me money for school. Otherwise, I wouldn't be the person I am now. Li Mingyu looked at her. That's nothing. I've lived in a tree hole and a pigsty before. At least I'm living by myself, but I'm always being bullied by my 2 sisters. No matter what I do, they'll always stop me. They've always taken pleasure in attacking me and destroying me. Li Mingyu looked at her indifferently. For a moment, no one knew what he was thinking. The 2 of them were comparing how miserable they were. They talked about the desolation of the past. Gradually, Li Mingyu also drank a lot of wine. Lin Che didn't drink a single mouthful. She soaked the wine with a wet towel. Although the glass was dry, she didn't drink a single mouthful. On the other hand, Li Mingyu didn't move at all. He lay there and said these words, but his head was already drooping. He mumbled, I really don't know why you all say that Gu Jingze is good. In the end, you just like him because he's good-looking, rich and powerful, and he's from an ancient family. So what if he's ancient? I don't have anything. Now I can just stomp my feet and shake a country. Yes. You're amazing. She walked over. Where's Gu Jingze? Can I go and see him? Li Mingyu said, he's right here. Why are you looking at him? I've asked people to serve him well. Of course, they're not as good as you, but I didn't mistreat him. I don't believe you. Take me to see him. Lin Che could only support him. To prevent the people outside from blocking the way, she carried him, almost putting his weight on her body, and helped him out with difficulty. When the people outside saw them coming out like this, they couldn't help but be suspicious. They walked over and said, Sir? Sir? Lin Che smiled. He's drunk, so he said he would take me to see Gu Jingze. I'm afraid that's not possible. He promised me. Why not? Why don't you wake him up and ask him? He's coming with us anyway. I can't save Gu Jingze by myself. Are you afraid of me? If I really wanted to do something, I would have used him as a hostage to force you to let me in since he's so drunk. They were still hesitating when Lin Che suddenly shouted, What do you mean? Are you suspecting me of something? If you continue to waste my time, believe it or not, when Li Mingyu wakes up, I'll let him deal with you one by one. Do you think I don't have that ability? Haven't you learned your lesson from what happened before? Li Mingyu was like this. He was too casual, so the people around him were afraid of him. If he was unhappy, he would change people. It wasn't unheard of. Previously, because of what Lin Che said, he chased away so many women in the manor. It was obvious that Lin Che was not a simple man in his eyes. They hesitated for a moment. It was not worth offending Lin Che. They might as well watch him strictly. If Lin Che didn't do anything to Gu Jingze, Li Mingyu wouldn't say anything when he woke up. So, they led Lin Che forward. The people on the side helped to support Li Mingyu. Finally, Lin Che's weight was reduced. Miss Lin, this way please. He led the group through corridors after corridors and finally arrived at a heavy iron door. The door had not opened yet, but Lin Che's heart was already in a mess. The door opened slowly with a rumbling sound. The person inside slowly appeared in front of them. When Lin Che saw Gu Jingze hanging there with messy clothes and bloodstains all over him, she felt as if all the blood in her body had flowed backward. In an instant, she ran in a panic. Gu Jingze. She didn't know how she ran to Gu Jingze's side, but she hugged his body. She only felt that his clothes were blood-stained and torn. She could see the marks inside. Every hit felt like she was hitting herself. She was in excruciating pain. Gu Jingze, how are you? Wake up. She saw Gu Jingze's head hanging low. He looked lifeless. She reached her trembling hand to his mouth. When she felt his weak breathing, she felt relieved. He wasn't dead. Thank goodness he wasn't dead. She looked at his bound hands and quickly raised her hand to untie them. No, Miss Lin, you can't. Chapter 726. The people at the back saw this and hurried over to hold Lin Che back. not letting him move. Of course, Lin Che was unwilling. She struggled and shouted, "Let me go, let me go. Gu Jingzi, wake up, don't die." The people at the side tried to persuade her. "Miss Lin, look, don't be like this. If you continue like this, we'll have to take Miss Lin away." Lin Che was stunned. She looked in Gu Jingzi's direction and paused. After calming down, she turned back to look at Li Mingyu and then at the people behind. "You said you would treat him well." The few people looked at Gu Jingzi's state. The knife and whip marks on his body were very obvious. His drooping head was stained with sweat. His handsome face was stained with blood, which made people shudder with fear. That expression and that cold face at this time was still extremely shocking. Looking at it, people also felt strange. Who was the one who did it? "Miss Lin, sir really didn't tell us to treat him like this. We don't know why he has become like this now." Lin Che bit her lip and glared at the few people. She knew that it was useless to talk to them, so she turned around and hugged Gu Jingzi. She looked up at Gu Jingzi's face and tears welled up in her eyes. "Gu Jingzi, wake up, wake up." Her hand slowly touched his hand. His hand was as cold as ice, and it was as scary as a block of ice. She trembled as she held his hand. "Gu Jingzi, can you hear me?" She felt that he was still not moving, so she hugged his body even more tightly. But at this moment, she felt him suddenly move. Lin Che immediately looked up. She saw his dark eyes. Although they were a little murky, they still slowly opened. Although she had always thought that Gu Jingzi's eyes were beautiful, they had never been more beautiful than now. She hugged him even more tightly and looked into his eyes. She kept calling, "Gu Jingzi, look at me, look at me." Gu Jingzi's thin lips moved. His sweaty hair stuck to his forehead. His eyes were shining as he looked at her and moved his thin lips. "What did you say?" Lin Che felt that he was talking, but he couldn't hear him clearly. She moved closer to him, tiptoed, and said, "What are you talking about, Gu Jingzi? Go ahead. I'm listening." Lin Che, "Yes, it's me. I love, what? What did you say?" "I love you, what?" Lin Che thought she heard the words, "I love you," but she couldn't be sure. All of a sudden, her heart felt as if it had received a huge shock, and it continued to tremble. She quickly moved in front of him and looked at him. "What did you say? What did you say?" However, Gu Jingzi fainted again and lost consciousness. His eyes were closed, and his long eyelashes were still stained with blood. Lin Che's heart ached, and he almost burst into tears again. She held his cheeks with both hands and didn't want him to wake up. She murmured, I know. Gu Jingzi, I know." Lin Che stood protectively in front of him. Seeing them, he said, "Miss Lin, we should go." "Go." "I'm not going." She hugged Gu Jingzi. "You guys go. I want to wait here for Li Mingyu to wake up." "No, Miss Lin, we've already made an exception by letting you in. Let go." "I'm not going. If you dare to let me go, I won't be polite anymore." Lin Che suddenly took out a fruit knife from her pocket. Pointing at the people opposite her, she said, "Get out of the way." The people's eyes sharpened. "Miss Lin, you're forcing us to use extreme measures." Lin Che looked at them. "I don't want you to let Gu Jingzi go. It's impossible for me to let him go just like that. I just want to stay here." The people looked at each other again, but they really didn't dare to let her stay here. Lin Che held the knife handle. "Just let me stay here. I won't do anything. I just want to watch over him, okay?" Just then, Li Mingyu, who was in a deep sleep, suddenly stood up. Lin Che was shocked and she stared at him. Li Mingyu narrowed his eyes and sneered. The corners of his lips curled up a little. On this side, several of his subordinates were stunned. They looked at him, lowered their heads respectfully, and took 2 steps back. Lin Che looked at him in surprise. "You're awake." Li Mingyu sneered. "I didn't actually want to get drunk just now. Did you think that I would get drunk just because you drank so little?" Lin Che didn't expect that. She just wanted to give it a try. She had to take things one step at a time. She was under someone else's roof, and all her plans were futile. At this moment, she looked at Li Mingyu and said, "Let me stay here. If I see him, I won't be able to stay here peacefully." She let Gu Jingze stick to her back and looked at Li Mingyu. Li Mingyu said, I just wanted to see what tricks you were playing. As expected, you still want to look for Gu Jingze. Lin Che said, I know he's here, so of course I want to look for him. You said that you didn't do anything to him, but look at how he was tortured by you. You lied to me. Li Mingyu frowned and turned to look at Gu Jingze, who was behind her. He looked like he had just been tortured. Li Mingyu frowned and looked at the people standing behind him. Who did it? He asked coldly. The few people who had just beaten up Gu Jingze to their heart's content suddenly felt their legs turn to jelly, and they knelt on the ground. We don't know. They thought that they finally got to see Gu Jingze. They felt really good to see the dignified Gu Jingze being tortured by them. But they didn't expect that Li Mingyu didn't want them to do that. Li Mingyu looked at them coldly and suddenly said, Take them out. How dare they touch Gu Jingze? Don't you know what kind of people they are? Don't you think you're worthy? They didn't know what Li Mingyu meant by take them out, but when they heard it, they were so scared that their faces turned ashen. The few people were taken away just like that. The rest of them looked at Gu Jingze with lingering fear. Then, Li Mingyu looked at Lin Che and said, I didn't do this. The few people who made the decision on their own will naturally be punished. But you have to leave with me now. Lin Che was still hugging Gu Jingze. No, I'm not leaving. Li Mingyu, I don't believe you. They don't know how to torture Gu Jingze. I want to stay here. Li Mingyu's expression became even more severe. Lin Che, don't fight me head-on. If I tell you to leave, then leave. Lin Che shook his head furiously. No, I'm not leaving. Either you drag me away, or I want to be with Gu Jingze. Li Mingyu laughed. What's so good about Gu Jingze? You all seem to have gone crazy because of him. Chapter 727. Lin Che turned around to look at Gu Jingze. He seemed to be still unconscious and she couldn't see his face clearly. This powerful man, at this moment, did not make her feel embarrassed at all. No matter what, in her heart, he would always be so lofty. Even at this moment, she still felt that he was so high and mighty that these people could not blaspheme him. She smiled and turned around to look at Li Mingyu. Because I like him. I love him. That's why I want to stay here, Li Mingyu. Li Mingyu narrowed her eyes. Love? What does he have that is worthy of your love? Lin Che, have you ever thought about it? Someone as fickle as him can do such a thing to someone who has been with him for more than 10 years. What will you become the day he gets tired of you? Lin Che shook her head. No, he will never treat me like that. How do you know? I just know. Even if he hasn't said anything to me, I just know that he cares about me. That's why I have to trust him. I also know that I can trust him. What's the use of knowing? How do you know that he is worthy of trust? Maybe it's just your imagination. Li Mingyu, you don't understand. There are many things that can't be explained clearly with words, and they don't have to have a reason. For example, I love him, I love him. There's no reason and I can't explain it clearly. Even if I told myself time and time again in the beginning not to fall in love with him, that he is dangerous and scary, that falling in love with him would turn me into a disaster, it wouldn't stop me from falling in love with him. What's meant to happen will eventually happen. You ask why so many people are willing to lose their minds for him. No matter who you ask, they might not be able to give you a reason. Li Mingyu was stunned. She looked at Lin Che, who was still so protective of Gu Jingze. She looked at his face and a gentle look of love appeared in her eyes. In the past, she might not have dared to say it or let him hear it, but at this moment, she had boundless courage. These words that were hidden deep in her heart came out just like that. Perhaps he thought that he was unconscious and couldn't hear. However, he was right in front of him and he was really here. That was why he wanted to say it. That was why he dared to say it. Li Mingyu looked at her and his smile became even more sinister. I don't believe that you love him just because he's rich. It's just because his surname is Gu. He's blessed by the heavens. That's why he managed to get you, Mo Huiling, and so many other people's hearts. As he spoke, he raised his arm. The gun in his hand was pointed at Gu Jingze's heart. He looked at Gu Jingze coldly and said, I'll kill him now and make this scourge disappear from this world. Then, you'll clearly understand that there's no such thing as love or not. If he dies, there's nothing left. Lin Che was shocked. Looking at the black muzzle of the gun, she immediately stood in front of Gu Jingze. She put her hands in front of her, shielding Gu Jingze's private parts behind her. Lin Che looked at Li Mingyu and said, "If you want to kill someone, then kill me first." Li Mingyu narrowed his cold eyes. "Move aside, Lin Che." "No, I won't move aside. I won't move aside. Li Mingyu, just kill me. I can't just stand here and watch you shoot." Li Mingyu's expression changed. He stared at her face and said, "Don't think that just because I'm giving you face, you'll really have face. Move aside." "No, just kill me." Lin Che seemed to have suddenly exploded. She stood there unwaveringly. Her footsteps were steady, as if her feet were frozen in place. Li Mingyu's finger moved and the action of pulling the trigger moved slightly. Lin Che's heart tightened. At that moment, she didn't have any other thoughts. She just closed her eyes and waited for the gunshot to go off. Bang! The gun went off. However, Lin Che didn't feel any pain. She was stunned. She looked up and saw Li Mingyu's subtle expression. He was still holding the gun in his hand. It seemed that the gun had indeed gone off, but she was unharmed. She turned her head and looked at Li Mingyu in surprise. Meanwhile, in country M, Gu Jingming helped Yu Minmin settle down. Seeing that Yu Minmin was lying on the bed and breathing smoothly, and her cheeks seemed to have regained some color, Gu Jingming lowered his head and gently covered her with the quilt. Then he turned his head. Along the way, In Suya had been staring at Gu Jingming's every move. She watched as Gu Jingming, a dignified president, took care of Yu Minmin personally. His attentiveness made her heart tighten. The people around them were also saying that Gu Jingming was really gentle and that Gu Jingming was really good to the president's wives. These envious exclamations seemed to express what she didn't dare to say. However, it was different from their pure envy. She felt more intense jealousy in her heart. When the doctor saw Gu Jingming get up, he bowed respectfully to him and said, "Madam is fine. Her lungs are not infected. The abrasions on her arm have been bandaged. They only hurt her skin and flesh. Her muscles and bones are not injured." Gu Jingming nodded and said, "All right. Keep an eye on her." At this moment, Linda walked in quickly from outside. She looked at Gu Jingming and said in a low voice, "Mr. President, it's an emergency." Gu Jingming nodded and turned to look at Yu Minmin. When he heard her snort, he hurriedly walked over and leaned against her. He asked softly, "What's wrong, Minmin?" Yu Minmin still only snorted. The person beside him said, "She just took the medicine. She probably won't wake up now." Gu Jingming took a deep breath and nodded again. He took a deep look at Yu Minmin before he turned around and walked out. In Suya had actually seen Gu Jingming worrying about Yu Minmin. Seeing that look in front of her, she felt even more resentful. In his heart, he wished that Yu Minmin had been shot, or that he had fallen into the river and been washed away, ending all his troubles once and for all. After Gu Jingming walked out, Linda said in a low voice, "Mr. President, second young master went to country A alone. He's probably in Li Mingyu's hands now. According to the news, second young master and second young mistress are both there." Gu Jingming frowned deeply and said, "Are you sure that he's with Li Mingyu?" Gu Jingming rubbed between his brows. "Inform the government of country A that we want Jingze back safely. Otherwise, country C will not let country A go. Tell the people to look for Jingze and start a rescue operation. Also, arrange some people. We're going back now." "Yes, sir." Linda hurried to make the arrangements. That day, Gu Jingming's people said that they wanted to go back. Due to the urgency of the matter, their schedule was brought forward by a week. Gu Jingming returned to Yu Minmin's room. Seeing that In Suya was still there, he said to In Suya, Fang Zhongmo, and Su Yi, "If you guys want to continue playing here, stay. If you guys want to continue playing here, then stay. I need to bring Yu Minmin back first." In Suya asked quickly, "Did something happen?" Gu Jingming was about to speak when he heard Yu Minmin move as if he was about to wake up. He lowered his head to touch Yu Minmin's forehead. Seeing that Yu Minmin had opened his eyes, he lowered his head and said in a low voice, "How do you feel?" "What happened to me?" Yu Minmin said. "You just took the medicine and fell asleep," he said. Chapter 728. Yu Minmin nodded, a little surprised. Gu Jingming helped her up and said to her, "Okay, we're going back to Country C. I'll help you get ready." Yu Minmin said in surprise, "So soon?" "Okay, I'll get up first." "Don't move." Gu Jingming held her down and turned around to instruct, "Bring it here." The doctor hurriedly pushed the wheelchair over. Gu Jingming held Yu Minmin's hand, lifted her up, and put her in the wheelchair. Yu Minmin said quickly, "I really don't need it, she only hurt her arm." "Why did she need a wheelchair?" Gu Jingming said, "I've arranged for doctors and nurses to accompany you. Remember to tell them if you have any problems." Yu Minmin said quickly, "I don't need any doctors to accompany me. It's just a small injury." Gu Jingming looked at her with a dark expression and she could only shut her mouth. The doctors and nurses hurriedly caught up with them. There were more than a dozen people including her personal guards, which made her look very grand for a moment. Gu Jingming went to arrange the plane. Linda smiled and said to Yu Minmin, "Mr. President is worried about your injury, so he specially arranged it. Madam, you just need to take care of yourself. These doctors were transferred from Mr. President's accompanying doctors for you. It's Mr. President's concern for you. Please accept it." "From the doctors accompanying the President?" "Of course," Linda said. Yu Minmin said, "Then they must be very good doctors." Linda smiled and said, "Yeah, those who can be part of the accompanying doctors are all PhDs from the Academy of Sciences. They're specially invited to join the medical team of Glass Palace." Yu Minmin was even more worried and said quickly, "It's just a small injury. There's really no need to involve so many people. We can't disobey Mr. President's decision. Don't worry and just tell them to let me know if there's anything." Yu Minmin looked back at the doctors and nurses behind her, thinking that she was too embarrassed to order them around for such a small matter. She had never thought that she would be surrounded by these academicians one day and felt a little guilty. They were all national professors. How could she dare to order them around? Outside, Gu Jingming's team followed Gu Jingming all the way to the airport. Gu Jingming said goodbye to the M Nation's farewell team and took the song and dance troupe back to the country. Because of the change of the schedule, the song and dance troupe was in a panic on the way. Finally, he sat down and saw Yu Minmin boarding the plane under the protection of his personal guards. In Suya also looked outside. She stared at Yu Minmin for a long time before pursing her lips and turning her head away. Yu Minmin boarded the plane, followed by Gu Jingming. Yu Minmin looked at Gu Jingming and was about to speak when Linda knocked on the door and walked in. "Sir, we received a call from China. Gu Jingming's connecting flight could be used at any time, unlike ordinary people who had to turn off their phones when they got on the plane." Hearing that, Gu Jingming asked Linda to answer the call. Yu Minmin hurriedly said, "I'll wait outside." She felt that it was better not to listen to this kind of thing. Gu Jingming glanced at her wheelchair and said, "All right, don't go out. It's too troublesome." He pressed her down, then waved his hand to let Linda answer the call. Lin Che looked at Yu Minmin, smiled, and quickly picked up the call. Naturally, it was the minister who personally called the president from China. He said on the phone, "Sir, we're ready." Yu Minmin raised her head immediately. Gu Jingming said, "If they think it's difficult, we'll continue pressuring them until they think they can do it." "Sir." Then, they used all kinds of professional jargon, which Yu Minmin couldn't understand. She only thought about Li Mingyu and Black Hawk and didn't listen to anything else. After the minister hung up, Yu Minmin said, "Is there news from Gu Jingza? Is it bad? What about Lin Che?" "I'm not sure. If it was just Li Mingyu this time, it would be easy, but I heard that Black Hawk is also involved." "Black Hawk? Who's that?" "It's an organization, and Black Hawk is their leader. Black Hawk is mysterious and unfathomable. He comes and goes without a trace, and he's also sinister and ruthless. He won't let go of anyone, be it women or children. If he wants to kill someone, he won't leave anyone alive. His assassin organization used to be very famous. Many of the people he assassinated were very outstanding, so he's very difficult to deal with. Yu Minmin was even more shocked. Gu Jingming held her hand and said, "All right, look at me." He held her hand and said, "Don't worry, I won't let anything happen to Jingze." Yu Minmin raised her head and looked into his confused eyes. For a moment, she seemed to see a lot of confusion, but in the end she fixed her gaze on the clarity in his eyes. The darkness in his eyes seemed to have some kind of magic that calmed her heart a lot. That's right, he wouldn't let anything happen to Gu Jingze. But what about Lin Che? Yu Minmin was still a little worried, so she quickly said, "Oh yes, Lin Che is pregnant." "You can't let anything happen to Lin Che." "Pregnant?" Gu Jingming looked a little surprised, as if he hadn't thought of this. Yu Minmin nodded vigorously. Gu Jingming was silent for a while before he said, "She'll be fine." Yu Minmin heaved a sigh of relief. Gu Jingming was still holding her hand. He looked at her and pressed her head to lean against his chest. Breathing in the scent of his body, her heart seemed to settle down. His chest smelled good, a grassy aroma. He patted her back and said, "All right, don't worry. Just focus on recovering from your injury. Do you hear me?" "Yeah. I'm not worried." She leaned against him and listened to his heartbeat, but she felt a little restless. Why did he suddenly hug her like this? Yu Minmin felt her heart pounding. Her heart was beating violently because of him, but it wasn't because she was worried. It was because she was too close to him. She could see his delicate pores clearly, and it made it hard for her to breathe. Chapter 729. At the same time. In country I, thousands of miles away. When Lin Che opened her eyes, she saw Li Mingyu looking at her. He slowly put down the gun and just stared at her, smiling as he shook his head. "You really didn't dodge. Are you stupid or not?" Lin Che looked at the gun in his hand with lingering fear. After a long while, she realized something and looked at him in surprise. "You didn't use any bullets?" Li Mingyu just snorted and poured out the magazine. It was indeed empty. He sighed and looked at Lin Che. He realized that he really couldn't bear to kill her. She was different from other girls. The more dangerous the situation was, the calmer she was. Perhaps it had something to do with her suffering when she was young, so she had a strong ability to deal with accidents. Also, she was very refreshing and cute. When people interacted with her, they would unconsciously feel close to her and want to get close to her. He shook his head and looked at her. He said helplessly, "Lin Che, you're just torturing yourself by being with him." However, at this moment, the door was suddenly burst open. A black figure appeared at the door. Li Mingyu's men were stunned. They watched as Black Eagle brought a black mass of people and pressed down on them. Black Eagle stood at the very front. He held a gun in his hand and looked at everything in front of him. He sneered at Li Mingyu and said, "You're still in the mood to play here? We only have two choices. We can either make Gu Jingze a hostage in exchange for your freedom, or we can suppress A and not give A a chance to betray you." Li Mingyu frowned and looked at Gu Jingze. Black Eagle narrowed his eyes. Or, if Gu Jingze is already a dead man, C will be furious. But if A sees that there's no turning back, C will be angry no matter what, and maybe he won't betray you. Li Mingyu was even more stunned. Black Hawk's viciousness and mercilessness were indeed extraordinary. In the next moment, Black Eagle's gun was pointed in Gu Jingze's direction. Lin Che panicked. She shouted, "No." Then she wrapped her arms around Gu Jingze's waist. On the other side, gunshots rang out again. This time, it was different from the muffled sound of Li Mingyu's empty gun. But strangely, she still didn't feel any pain. When she looked up, she realized that Li Mingyu was lying on the ground. He clutched his bleeding shoulder, gritted his teeth, and looked at the Black Hawk. Then, he turned around and said to Lin Che, "Take him away, quickly." Lin Che was stunned. He looked at Li Mingyu and understood that he had just taken a bullet for him. For what? He couldn't figure it out, but this wasn't the time to think. Lin Che immediately grabbed Gu Jingze, took the dagger that Li Mingyu handed to him with one hand, and cut off the rope on Gu Jingze's hands. He didn't know where he got the strength to drag the heavy Gu Jingze outside. Black Hawk looked at Li Mingyu in surprise. "What are you doing?" Li Mingyu was in pain. I will solve my own problems. You don't have to worry about it. Black Hawk sneered and shook his head. This is your own choice. Li Mingyu smiled bitterly. I won't let Gu Jingze go, but now is not the time. Black Hawk, I don't care what personal grudges you have with Gu Jingze, but don't try to use me to kill him. Black Hawk's eyes widened. That's right, I have some personal grudges with Gu Jingze. I want to kill him. This is my mission, but I can't use my name to kill him now. Li Mingyu smiled bitterly. I was wondering why He Ying, the leader of the Hall of Assassins, would help me catch Gu Jingze for 300 million yuan. It turns out that you wanted to kill Gu Jingze for a long time, but you didn't want to do it in your name. You wanted to kill him in my name. Black Hawk smiled. Since you know, then I won't beat around the bush. I have a personal grudge with the Gu family. I'm sorry for using you, but I still have to kill him. Li Mingyu snorted. Even though Black Hawk wasn't someone to be trifled with, Li Mingyu wasn't a pushover either. If you want to kill him, you have to see if I, Li Mingyu, agree to it first. It won't be easy for you to kill him in my territory. Whether you succeed or not depends on your ability. As he said this, Li Mingyu waved his hand and ordered his men to rush in and confront Black Hawk. Outside, Lin Che supported Gu Jingze. She didn't know why Li Mingyu suddenly wanted to help them, but no matter what, he had given her a chance to leave with Gu Jingze, so she had to take advantage of it. Lin Che didn't know how long he had been dragging Gu Jingze. When he saw Li Mingyu's men driving a car over, he directly walked over and yelled at them, "Get out of here. Leave the car to us." The man saw Lin Che and remembered that she was Li Mingyu's distinguished guest, so he quickly stepped aside. Lin Che went up and kicked him to the ground. Then she helped Gu Jingze into the car. She still knew how to drive, but ever since the incident, Gu Jingze hadn't let her touch the steering wheel. She was a little confused, but she couldn't care less. She stepped on the accelerator and started the car. Then she drove on the main road. As they got further and further away from the door, Lin Che felt a little safer. However, she saw that Gu Jingze was still leaning against the wall, unconscious. She looked at him worriedly. She patted his cheek from time to time and called his name. "Gu Jingze, can you wake up?" Gu Jingze didn't move, so she could only continue driving. She didn't know how much time had passed. She only knew that they were getting further and further away. After about an hour, she still didn't see Gu Jingze wake up. Seeing that there was not much gas left in the car, she was afraid that they couldn't go any further. She helped Gu Jingze out of the car and walked to the side step by step. When she was almost exhausted, she saw a villager passing by. He was carrying firewood and was walking with his head down. As if he had seen his savior, Lin Che hurriedly waved his hand and shouted in a hoarse voice, "Hey, is there anyone here? Can you help me?" The villager turned his head. He was puzzled at first. Then he saw Gu Jingze. He was stunned and hurried over. Lin Che was delighted and shouted, "Hello, hello. We met the kidnappers and just got away. Please help us. When we go back, we will definitely reward you." The villager looked at the two of them. He looked at the plain-looking young man and his eyes flashed for a while. Finally, he said, "Okay, come back with me. My house is just ahead." Hearing this, Lin Che finally heaved a sigh of relief. She felt as if she had seen hope. She supported Gu Jingze with one hand. Seeing that he had come to help, she quickly thanked him. Just like that, the two of them supported the injured Gu Jingze and walked towards the village. Chapter 730. In the village, the boy put down the firewood and let Lin Che and Gu Jingze go in. The village wasn't big and they could see the end of it at a glance. Some people had already lived in brick houses, but there were also some dilapidated mud houses among them. It was cooking time, and there was smoke everywhere, making people feel like they were in a world of fireworks. Lin Che looked at it and felt like he hadn't lived a good life for a long time. Seeing this village again, he felt that this was the real world and that his life was like a dream. In fact, after meeting Gu Jingze, her life was like a dream. She was living a life that she had never imagined before, a life that was getting more and more detached from the real world. She sighed and watched the boy bring her inside. He said, "My name is Wang Dong. You can call me Dongzi. That's my grandmother inside. The old woman was holding a walking stick and had white hair. She looked like she was in her 80s. Dongzi, why didn't you tell me that you brought someone back? There's no rice at home. Dongzi said, I'm going to the store to buy some now. Grandma, they were kidnapped by kidnappers. That person seems to be dying. Oh my, what a sin. Hurry up and help him to lie down, the old woman said hurriedly when she saw Gu Jingzi. Dongzi said, my dad went to pick up my sister. She's going to school in town and will be back soon. You guys rest here first. I'll go buy some rice. Lin Che quickly thanked him. After thinking for a while, he took out a watch from his pocket. She had swiped it directly when Li Mingyu was shopping with her at the mall. She didn't even ask how much it cost, but it definitely wouldn't be low. She said, do you have a pharmacy here? There's only a small pharmacy at the entrance of the village. This is for you. Look at the top. It's platinum. Can you help me ask for some medicine and gauze? Dongzi looked at it and said, this watch is so beautiful. It must be very valuable. I still have money at home. I'll go and buy medicine. Dongzi pushed the watch back to Lin Che. Lin Che thought for a moment and said, then this watch is for you. If you take it to the city, you should be able to exchange it for a lot of money. This is a famous watch from Switzerland. Even if you can't exchange it for much, you should be able to exchange it for a few hundred. Dongzi looked at it and didn't want it. Lin Che said, just keep it. Otherwise, I'll feel really guilty. I'll feel really bad if I trouble you like this. Dongzi could only say, then I'll take it first. Lin Che smiled at him. After Dongzi left, the old granny brought a basin and a towel and asked Lin Che to wipe his body. Lin Che looked at Gu Jingzi. He lowered his head to wet the towel and wrung it dry. He held Gu Jingzi's hand and wiped it with the back of his hand. He felt sad and worried. There were stains all over it, and it was hard to tell how many injuries there were. However, every scratch on it was like a needle piercing her heart. Gu Jingzi, you have to get better. Get better. Do you hear me? She murmured. She lowered her head to take off his clothes and wiped him. Although there weren't any major injuries, there were small bruises everywhere, especially on his chest and stomach. It was obvious that he had been punched and beaten. She couldn't tell if there was any internal bleeding, but she touched his stomach. It was still soft. Even if there was internal bleeding, it shouldn't be very serious. She was a little relieved, but her heart still ached for every inch of injury on his body. After wiping his face clean, the old granny looked at him and said, "Io, such a handsome child. How did he get beaten up like this?" Lin Che's eyes welled up as he listened. He said to the old granny, "Because those people are really bad." The old granny said, "It's really pitiful. How did you meet kidnappers?" "Miss, are you okay?" "Thank you, Granny. I'm fine." Just then, Dongzi's father came back with Dongzi's sister. He was also very puzzled when he saw Lin Che and Gu Jingzi, who was lying there covered in injuries. They only understood after the old granny explained it to them. Dongzi's father was a little reluctant. He looked at the two of them and said to the old granny in a low voice, "Dongzi is really too much. We don't even know who they are, so we brought him back." The old granny said, "Saving a life is better than building a 7-story pagoda. We can't just leave him to die. Who knows if he's a good person or a bad person? There are so many liars nowadays." When Dongzi's sister saw Gu Jingzi, she immediately became concerned. The 12-year-old girl exclaimed, "Wow, this brother is so beautiful." She jumped over and knelt down to look at the sleeping Gu Jingzi. She said to Lin Che, "Sister, I'm Wang Mei. Who is he? Is he your husband?" Lin Che nodded vigorously. "Yes, he's my husband." The little girl looked at Gu Jingzi with admiration and took the initiative to help take care of him. Dongzi's father saw this and shook his head helplessly. He snorted and walked out. The old granny sighed and said to Lin Che, his wife, Dongzi's mother, was cheated away by an outsider. She went out to work and never came back. That's why he gets worried when he sees outsiders. You don't have to worry about him. Lin Che said, "Why would he? We were the ones who disturbed him. His worry isn't unreasonable." At this moment, Dongzi finally came back. "Sister, I've bought some medicine for you. See which one you can use. Lin Che went over to take a look. They were all anti-inflammatory medicine, so some of them should be usable. Lin Che used the gauze that had been smeared with medicine to clean Gu Jingze's wounds. Seeing that Gu Jingze seemed to feel pain in his sleep and furrowed his brows, she became even gentler. However, some large wounds would inevitably cause him unbearable pain. Finally, he snorted and opened his eyes. Lin Che quickly held his hand. Gu Jingze? Is it painful? I'll be careful. Gu Jingze held her hand tightly and looked at the person in front of him vigilantly. When he saw that it was Lin Che, his brows relaxed. Lin Che? His voice was hoarse, like the dull sound of rain. Lin Che quickly nodded. It's me. Gu Jingze exhaled lightly and wanted to get up, but Lin Che hurriedly pressed him down. You have a lot of injuries on your body. We've escaped, but we're in a nearby village. I don't know when they'll catch up to us. Gu Jingze, how do you feel? Does it still hurt? Gu Jingze just sat up gloomily. He reached out and pulled Lin Che into his arms. As Lin Che breathed in the scent on his body, her mind exploded. All the worries she had for the past few days seemed to vanish into thin air the moment she entered his embrace. She was stunned for a moment, then hugged Gu Jingze tightly. She really didn't want to go through this again. This worry, this situation where she could lose him at any time, she didn't want to go through it again. Chapter 731. When the family saw that Gu Jingze had woken up, they cleaned up and went to cook. But the phones here were so poor that they couldn't make international calls. Lin Che and Gu Jingze's phones had been taken away long ago, so they had nothing on them. There was a police station, but Gu Jingze was worried that the police here would side with Li Mingyu or Black Hawk, so he didn't let Lin Che call them. After all, this was Country A, not Country Siege. Lin Che helped Gu Jingze out to look at the terrain. The sun was about to set, and the scenery here was so peaceful that no one could see any murderous intent. It was like a paradise. Lin Che told him what had happened. She looked at Gu Jingze strangely. But I don't know why Black Hawk used Li Mingyu to kill you. Does he have a grudge against you? Gu Jingze shook his head and said, I don't know anything about Black Hawk, and I've never met him. But he has always been against the Gu family, which is why Country C has always banned him from entering the country. I don't know why, but he is hostile towards the Gu family. We can't find out anything about this. After all, Black Hawk's background has always been a mystery. No one knows. So he really wanted to kill you? But he didn't want to do it himself, so he helped Li Mingyu? But in the end, he realized that Li Mingyu didn't want to kill you anymore, so he decided to do it himself? That should be it. Lin Che sighed. She looked at Gu Jingze and helped him put his clothes back on. Gu Jingze grabbed her hand tightly and looked at her. Don't worry about me. Your clothes are too thin and they're all torn. If you catch a cold, you'll be injured all over. It won't be good for your health. Silly. Gu Jingze looked at her deeply. I should be the one taking care of you now. His gaze slowly moved to her lower abdomen. Lin Che shook her head. The child is fine, and so am I. I was the one who was caught, which caused you to be injured. Silly, if it weren't for me, you wouldn't have been targeted. Li Mingyu has nothing to do with you. She had met with all this because she married him and became his wife. How could he push all this to her now? Lin Che said, Alright, let's not push each other around because of this. Didn't you say that we're husband and wife? Husband and wife should go through thick and thin together, right? Gu Jingze put his arm around her shoulders and leaned against the wall with her, watching the people coming and going in the village. In fact, both of them felt that it had been a long time since they had seen such a peaceful scene. For a moment, they felt that life was stable and the years were peaceful. It made their hearts feel at peace. Lin Che said, Look, that family just got married and built a new house. Is that so? The one cooking at the door is the bride? Yeah, isn't it pretty? Gu Jingze shook his head. Not as pretty as you. Huh? You even know how to praise me. Lin Che looked at Gu Jingze in surprise. Gu Jingze tapped her nose. I have to be honest. You are indeed prettier than her. This is one of your few merits. I have to admit it. Lin Che patted his chest. You're so annoying. You're just being talkative. Gu Jingze made a pained expression. Lin Che was shocked and hurriedly said, How are you? Are you all right? Did I hurt you? Yeah, you hurt me. You have to comfort me. Lin Che said, How do I comfort you? Gu Jingze turned his head and kissed her lips. Lin Che's eyes widened, but she didn't move in the end. This kiss, which she hadn't experienced in a long time, touched her heart. At Li Mingyu's place, for a moment, she really thought that she would never be able to kiss his lips or touch his body again. She really couldn't bear to part with him. Feeling his slightly cold, thin lips touch her, she kissed his lips back. Feeling his tongue enter her mouth, she closed her eyes and quietly kissed him back. Over there, a young girl teased, Look, there's a guy kissing a girl over there. It's so embarrassing. Lin Che paused for a moment and raised his head. He saw a mother walking by with a little girl who was only a few years old. When the mother heard the little girl's words, she patted the little girl's back. However, the little girl also looked over curiously. Lin Che blushed and quickly lowered her head to wipe her mouth. Gu Jingze smiled and put his arm around her shoulders. Let's go. Eat something and rest tonight. We'll continue on our way tomorrow. Once we reach town, I'll contact the Gu family. They must be looking for us too. I wonder what happened to Black Eagle and Li Mingyu after we left. Lin Che couldn't understand why Li Mingyu would help her in the end and take the bullet for her. They're fighting against each other. Who wins depends on their own strength. Gu Jingze wasn't interested in what would happen next. He just wanted to take Lin Che to a safe place as soon as possible so that she wouldn't have to suffer anymore. The two of them quickly returned to Dongzi's house. The food was already prepared. There wasn't much to eat, just rice and a big bowl of vegetables. It was already the family's dinner. Although it was simple, Lin Che thought it was delicious. It was even better than the delicacies at Li Mingyu's place. But Gu Jingze, she looked at Gu Jingze. She was worried that he wouldn't be able to eat too much since he hadn't recovered from his injury. If he didn't eat well, how could he recover well? However, it seemed that Gu Jingze didn't have any scruples. He finished his bowl of rice one bite at a time and expressed his gratitude to his family. At night, Dongzi gave the room to the two of them and went to sleep outside. Lin Che and Gu Jingze fell asleep in each other's arms. Gu Jingze watched Lin Che fall asleep quickly and touched her belly. Thinking that he would take her to town to look for something tomorrow, he was thinking and planning until midnight. After midnight, he quietly closed his eyes. However, not long after he slept, he suddenly heard a noise. It was caused by a dog barking, which woke him up from his dream. Gu Jingze suddenly opened his eyes in the darkness. Lin Che woke up quietly and heard Dongzi running in from outside. Someone is chasing us. Are they looking for you? Gu Jingze immediately stood up and pulled Lin Che up. He made a prompt decision and said, Follow me from the back. Dongzi said, Then you have to be quick. They are looking for you from house to house. There are a lot of people. I saw some of them holding something. I don't know if it's a gun. The old granny also ran out from inside. What happened? Who are these people? Why are they so powerful? Lin Che said, It's okay. If we leave, they won't make things difficult for you. We'll leave immediately. Lin Che followed Gu Jingze and ran to the window. When she jumped out of the window, she heard the Wang family's door being kicked open. Chapter 732. The screams of the Wang family made Lin Che's heart skip a beat. However, she didn't have time to think about anything else. She quickly followed Gu Jingze. A gunshot sounded from behind. Lin Che couldn't help biting her lower lip. Let's go. We can't care so much. These people are too arrogant. Black Eagle has always been inhumane. A few villagers can't stop them. The sound of plastic came from behind. Gu Jingze pulled Lin Che and leaned against a low wall. He felt someone walking past them, cursing. Damn, Gu Jingze is really good at hiding. How can he run so fast? However, when he turned around, he saw Gu Jingze hiding there. His face turned pale. He didn't react when he saw Gu Jingze. Gu Jingze took advantage of this opportunity to grab his arm and throw him to the ground. He hooked the gun with his foot and threw it into his hand. Then he aimed at the man on the ground and shot him. His movements were so smooth that Lin Che was dumbstruck. He felt like he was watching a movie. The next moment, Gu Jingze pulled Lin Che up and ran to the side. Black Eagle's eyes were full of indifference. It's all because you let your guard down. You thought Gu Jingze was like the people you met before? Humph, you underestimated him. The Gu family's bloodline is not that simple. As he spoke, he squinted and looked forward. Chase them outside. On the side, Dongzi's father had already died in the blood. Dongzi's family was kneeling on the ground. Black Eagle lifted the little girl's chin and looked at her tearful face. Tell me, did Gu Jingze reveal where they went? The little girl cried and shook her head with her eyes closed. No, we really don't know them. Black Eagle raised his gun and was about to shoot the little girl's head. Dongzi hugged Black Eagle's arm. They said they were going to the city. It's true. They were going to H City to find someone. It's true. Dongzi didn't tell the truth. But thinking that they didn't look like ordinary people, it should be possible to go to a big place like H City. Sure enough, Black Eagle narrowed his eyes and thought for a moment. Go to H City. The Gu family has a stronghold in H City. Alright, you guys send people to H City first. The rest of you, continue to search here. When the group of people left, the old lady threw herself on her son. He said that they couldn't be brought in. Sure enough, we can't. Sob, who are they? Why are they killing people everywhere? Dongzi was also at a loss as he muttered, but these are the bad guys. I don't think they are bad guys. They should be people being chased by bad guys. Dad, wake up. Gu Jingze brought Lin Che all the way to the edge of the village and hid in a bush. The injuries on Gu Jingze's body seemed to have worsened because of the fight. Lin Che pulled him and asked worriedly, Are you okay? Are you really okay? Gu Jingze pressed his lips together. Although his face was pale, he still gritted his teeth and nodded. I'm fine. At this moment, light came from outside again. Lin Che's heart skipped a beat. She held onto Gu Jingze's arm and carefully listened to the movements outside. The light was getting closer and closer, slowly approaching them. Gu Jingze raised the gun in his hand. At this moment, as the sound approached, Gu Jingze suddenly raised the gun in his hand. However, when he was aiming outside, he heard someone call out, Second young master? Is that you? Lin Che woke up with a start and raised her head. When she saw Linda coming over, she only felt that the tightness in her heart was finally released. Gu Jingze felt the same. He immediately put down the gun in his hand. He looked at Linda. It's me, Linda. Did Big Brother send you here? It's really Second young master. Linda exclaimed happily. She quickly called someone over. Someone, Second young master is here. Young mistress is here too. Linda brought Lin Che and Gu Jingze to a safe car. She prepared nutritious biscuits for them to recover their energy. Then, she called the doctor to check on Gu Jingze's body urgently. Lin Che also thought of Dongzi's family. She looked at Linda and said, Hein brought some people to a farmer's house. I wonder how their family is now. Linda looked at Lin Che and paused for a moment. Then, she said, Hein killed 3 people in the village. I wonder if the person that young mistress mentioned was among them. Lin Che's heart sank. Linda and the others were all dressed neatly and looked very formal. Lin Che looked at Linda and said, I thought you were Gu Jingming's secretary. Gu Jingze looked at Lin Che. It's true that I'm the president's secretary, but Linda is also a talent specially selected. She has to be well-rounded in order to be selected to work for the president. Do you think it's that simple? Linda is actually an excellent industrial engineer. Lin Che looked at Linda in admiration. She thought that she really didn't know anything. Compared to these people, she was really stupid. Gu Jingze was surrounded by such talents. No wonder he always said that she was stupid. She was really stupid. She thought that if there was a chance in the future, the first thing she would do when she went back was to make herself strong and not be dominated by others. Linda quickly returned to the village with 2 people. Because she had brought people to rescue them, they immediately surrounded the whole village. Her people walked everywhere, making people wonder what had happened in the village. Dongzi's father's body had been taken away. Dongzi's family was very depressed, especially Wang Mei, who sat there crying. Lin Che walked over. He was also very sad. "I'm sorry. It's all because of us that your father died." The old granny raised her head. "You are all big shots. We can't afford to offend you. You could have chosen any family, but why did you choose our family?" "Oh, my poor son," Linda looked at the side and said to the old granny, "this is a tragedy caused by the dark forces. We are also the victims. But we really sympathize with you for losing your son in your old age. How about this? We will take care of the three of you in the future. If the two children are willing, we will also bring them to see country to receive better education and give them a better future. What do you think?" When the old granny heard this, she raised her head. "You mean you will bring them to the city? You will take care of them in the future?" "That's right." The old granny rolled her eyes. She felt that this compensation was not bad. Her son's death was already a matter of time. She might as well think about the two children. Seeing that they were so capable, the compensation would not be small. Thus, she wiped her tears and said, You have to do what you say." Linda repeatedly promised to pacify the family. The few of them left together. The helicopter was already ready. The silence of the morning in the village was broken by the army. Under everyone's surprised gaze, the group of people first used the helicopter to send Lin Che and Gu Jingze away. Chapter 733. Gu Jingze and Lin Che quickly returned to country siege. Linda took care of Lin Che on the way. Lin Che looked at Linda and asked, "Did Country A agree to you coming to Country A like this? I saw that you brought a lot of troops." "These are the president's personal guards, a special force to protect the president's safety. Bringing troops to another country is a sensitive matter, but for the safety of the two of you, Mr. President pressured Country A and Country A agreed to our rescue." "Then Li Mingyu and the rest," Linda said. "Li Mingyu's nationality in Country A has been revoked. Country A is now issuing an international warrant for Li Mingyu. As for Black Hawk, he is a stateless person, so it will be difficult to catch him. But Country A has promised to cooperate with us in catching Black Hawk." It seemed that Country A had finally compromised with the Gu family and stood on their side. Lin Che said, "I pity Dongzi's family, who lost their family because of us. Without him, we might have died by the roadside, but we dragged him down." Linda said, "Don't worry. I will bring him back to Country C. I saw that he is in good physical condition, and his age is just right. I asked him if he is willing to join the personal guards. If he is willing, I will let him enter the recruit company and start training from scratch." "Personal guards?" "Although he still needs to work hard to become an official personal guard, he is willing to join the army, so I may bring him into the personal guards." "That's great." Lin Che was a little relieved. He hoped that his future would be brighter and that his father, who was in heaven, would be more comforted. Lin Che went in to see Gu Jingze. Gu Jingze was leaning against the side of the plane, looking at some documents with his head tilted. She suddenly remembered that when she saw him at Li Mingyu's place, she had heard him murmuring something. She had clearly heard Lin Che, "I love you." Thinking of those 3 words, her face heated up. She looked at Gu Jingze with a gentle gaze mixed with a little adoration. She really loved him. Even if she had never wanted to admit it, she couldn't hide it now. Gu Jingze looked up and saw Lin Che. He waved for her to sit down. She walked over and leaned against him. He put an arm around her shoulders and patted her arm, saying, "I heard that when you went to America, the plane ride was very uncomfortable. How about this time?" "I'm much more used to it now," Lin Che said. Gu Jingze looked down at her belly and thought of the little life they had created together. He smiled and reached out to touch her belly. "When I get back, I'll take care of things at home, and then I'll go abroad with you to take care of the baby." "Why abroad?" Lin Che looked at him and asked. Gu Jingze said, "There are too many things to deal with at home. Besides, too many people know you because of your job. It's troublesome for you to go out. It's better to go abroad. You'll have more leisure time." Lin Che thought it made sense. She also wanted to live with Gu Jingze for a while, just the two of them. Ever since they got to know each other, they had never really spent time together. It was indeed a pity. She nestled in his arms. Seeing the scars on his neck, she quickly said, "There are so many scars on your body. I wonder if they will leave scars. Aren't scars a man's medals? What, you don't like it?" He lowered his head. Lin Che said, "I don't like it. It's uncomfortable to touch. Come and feel it. See if it's comfortable." He smiled and took her hand, letting her reach into his clothes to feel. Lin Che reached out and hit the back of his hand. There were so many people watching. What was she touching? However, Lin Che looked at him and thought, how could she dislike him? No matter how many scars he had on his body, he was still the perfect Gu Jingze. He would only be better, sexier, and more attractive. He would never be worse. Gu Jingze held her in his arms, but he suddenly furrowed his brows and twitched. He looked uncomfortable. "What's wrong, Gu Jingze?" Gu Jingze shook his head. His lower lip trembled a little. "It's nothing." However, just as he said this, he suddenly tilted to one side. Lin Che was startled. Doctor, come and take a look." Following Lin Che's panicked cry, the doctor hurried in. A few doctors surrounded Gu Jingze and examined him. Lin Che looked at them anxiously. Linda could only comfort her. "Young mistress, it's not a big deal. The doctor examined him before. The wound is not deep. Maybe he's just too tired and it's inflamed." Lin Che also hoped that was the case. However, seeing the doctors surrounding Gu Jingze, how could she be at ease? After the plane landed in B City, they went straight to the private hospital that they had booked. Knowing that Gu Jingze was injured, the hospital had already cleared a floor for him. A few doctors escorted Gu Jingze into the emergency room. No outsiders were allowed to enter. Only Lin Che's close relatives were allowed in. Lin Che sat outside and waited anxiously. After a long time, the door to the emergency room opened. The doctor walked out and looked at Lin Che and Linda. "Mr. Gu is fine. There's just some internal bleeding. We didn't find it because we didn't have the equipment to check it before, which led to some inflammation. He's fine now, but he's very tired. After taking the medicine, he'll probably sleep for a while." Lin Che's body swayed. At this moment, she also felt extremely tired. Linda hurriedly asked someone to prepare a room so that Lin Che could rest first. When Lin Che entered the room, she was surrounded by many doctors. They tested her blood and examined her, afraid that there was something wrong with her. Fortunately, Lin Che was really very tired, which was why she was feeling unwell. The doctor told her, "Your fetus is a little unstable. I've just given you an injection to protect the fetus. I think there should be nothing wrong, but it's better that you don't walk around casually." Lin Che said gratefully, "Thank you." The doctor hurriedly said, "You're welcome. It's my duty." Knowing that Lin Che was actually pregnant, the doctor naturally came to help. The child was Gu Jingze's and she was Gu Jingze's wife. Wouldn't the child in her belly be the rightful heir of the Gu family? Even if it wasn't a boy, but a girl, she would still be the daughter of a rich family. Therefore, even though the child was still in her belly, it was already very precious. If something were to happen to the child, how would they explain it to the Gu family and Gu Jingze? Therefore, they naturally racked their brains, afraid that there would be something wrong with Lin Che's belly. They got someone to take care of her overnight. Regardless of Lin Che's attitude, as long as Lin Che looked a little uncomfortable, they would ask the doctor to quickly go over to check on her, in case something really happened. Although they were very proud that Gu Jingze had returned to China and chose their hospital, it would also be very difficult for them to endure these days. The hospital was very tense that night. Until the next day. Early in the morning, the entrance of the hospital was blocked again. The person who came was old Master Gu of the Gu family, Gu Xianda. Gu Xianda and Mu Wanqing went to the hospital together. Chapter 734. Gu Xianda naturally had a lot of followers. After he came down, he leaned on his walking stick and said to Mu Wanqing, "You go see Jingze." I'll go see Lin Che first. Mu Wanqing had been worried for a long time. She nodded quickly. I'll go see Lin Che later. I'll see how Jingze is doing first. Mu Wanqing left first, while Gu Xinda rushed to Lin Che's ward. Lin Che was resting. The doctor didn't expect Gu Xinda to come personally. He thought to himself that as expected of a big family that valued their children, he came to see Lin Che first. However, he didn't know that Gu Xinda was here to see Lin Che, but for something else. After he entered, Lin Che looked up and saw Gu Xinda. He quickly sat up. Gu Xinda said, "All right, don't get up. I know you're not feeling well. Just sit down." Lin Che sat down peacefully and looked at Gu Xinda. "Grandpa," Gu Xinda said, "I know you're pregnant with Jingze's child. This is the flesh and blood of the Gu family. There's no mistake." Lin Che said, "Grandpa, I know that you'll think that Gu Jingze was injured because of me when we went to country A this time." Gu Xinda looked at Lin Che. "I know it wasn't you, but you might not know that Jingze was willing to break up with me because of you." Lin Che was stunned. She hadn't expected it, but she was touched. "Grandpa, this doesn't mean that there's something wrong with me. It should be you." "I know there's something wrong with me. I know, it's my problem. I'm old and I can't accept things deviating from my way of thinking. But now, I still hope that you can take the initiative to leave Jingze. You've seen it, you've become his weakness, and he's become so dangerous. You're just lucky that you all came back alive, but this is even more dangerous, because once this matter is known, the whole world will know that he has you as his weakness. As long as he catches you, he'll risk his life at any time. Right now, Black Hawk is still out there, waiting to fight with the Gu family at any time. There are so many people out there waiting for Jingze to die. Do you really want to continue living like this, letting Jingze take risks with you?" Lin Che didn't understand why he felt that Gu Jingze couldn't have a weakness. She said, "It's not like Gu Jingze didn't have weaknesses in the past." Gu Xinda shook his head. "No, you're his only weakness. If you don't leave, even if I die, I'll still be worried. Even if I'm pregnant with the Gu family's child, Grandpa still can't accept me? Grandfather, you don't want this great-grandson anymore, right?" Lin Che said. Gu Xinda shook his head. "I want it, but when the child is born, you have to give the child to me." Lin Che felt even more inconceivable. She felt more and more that she had misjudged Gu Xinda. In the past, she had always thought that Gu Xinda was a lovely old man. Everyone was afraid of him. However, Lin Che felt that he was not as terrible as others said. But now, he actually said such cruel words. Lin Che said, "You want the child to be born without a mother, right?" Gu Xinda said calmly, "If the child is born in the Gu family, he will have everything he wants. He won't lack motherly love. You think too highly of motherly love. Jingze and the others were raised by nannies when they were born. Aren't they the same now? They don't have any regrets. Forget it. After all, your background is different from Jingze's, so you won't understand what it's like to be born in the Gu family." Lin Che laughed coldly. "So, in the end, you still think that my background is not good enough for Gu Jingze? Even if you were born in a rich family, I still wouldn't agree because it's too dangerous for Jingze. So, no matter who you are, whether you are good or not, I won't agree." Lin Che looked at Gu Xinda gloomily. The people outside said that Gu Jingze had woken up. Gu Xinda looked at Lin Che. "You better think it through and leave on your own. Otherwise, if I use the Gu family's power to make you leave, I'm afraid that it won't look good on us. If it gets out of hand, it won't be good for Jingze's future." Gu Xinda said this last sentence and turned to leave. Lin Che was in a bad mood because of Gu Xinda. However, when she heard that Gu Jingze had woken up, she quickly adjusted her mood and prepared to go out to see Gu Jingze. Mu Wanqing was worried to death. She looked at Gu Jingze and told him not to be so willful in the future. If there was anything, they could discuss it together. Gu Xinda didn't say anything at the back. Gu Jingze was silent. He knew that they couldn't get along well, so he didn't say anything. Mu Wanqing said to Gu Jingze, "I heard that Lin Che is pregnant. Luckily, the child is fine this time. Otherwise, what would you do?" "All right, you talk with grandfather here. I'll go see Lin Che first." Mu Wanqing had wanted to see Lin Che for a long time. After saying that, she rushed to Lin Che's place. When she saw Lin Che, she said happily, "I heard little Che." Seeing that Lin Che was about to get up, Mu Wanqing quickly said, "Don't move, don't move. Why are you moving? It's been hard on you these past few days. It's not easy for you to come back. Don't move." She held Lin Che's hand and said, "This child is the first child of our Gu family. I've already had a room prepared. I know that you and Jingze like to be alone, but it's better for the child to stay in the old mansion when she's in confinement. There are many old people there who know more. Even I have taken care of a few children before. When the time comes, it'll be easy to take care of you." Lin Che leaned against Mu Wanqing, glad that she was still the Mu Wanqing in his heart. She was really too good to him. It was as if he was her mother instead of her mother-in-law. "Mom, you can decide. Just don't make it too grand. I'll feel bad." "That's a must. You're giving birth to the Gu family's first child. It's impossible for it not to be grand. Speaking of which, Jingyan's child is about the same age as yours. I wonder which one of you will be born first. When the time comes, the two children will grow up together. It'll definitely be very interesting." Mu Wanqing was so happy that she kept talking about it. Later, she even said that she would bring Lin Che along to buy things for the child. Lin Che then remembered and said to Mu Wanqing, "Gu Jingze said that he wants me to go abroad to recuperate." Mu Wanqing said, He's really, but thinking about it, Gu Xianda and Gu Jingze had been in conflict recently. The grandfather and grandson had fought a few times in the past, and every time, they were at loggerheads. The grandfather and grandson had the same personality, and one was more stubborn than the other. She couldn't do anything about it. So, after thinking about it, since they were going abroad to recuperate, then they would go abroad. That's good too. I'll listen to Jingze's arrangements. But if you give birth abroad, I have to go and watch. I'm not at ease with Jingze taking care of you there. When the time comes, I'll definitely follow him. Don't think I'm annoying." Chapter 735. Lin Che leaned into Mu Wanqing's arms and acted coquettishly like a child. "How could that be, Mom?" Mu Wanqing looked at the little girl and felt very comfortable. She liked this kind of intimacy. It was a pity that Gu Jingyan had always been a headstrong person, causing her to feel like she had 4 sons instead of a daughter. After Mu Wanqing and Gu Xianda left, Gu Jingze arranged for someone to prepare for the Gu family. The hospital wasn't as comfortable as the Gu family. If he wanted to recuperate, he might as well go to the Gu family's house. At most, he could bring the doctor home with him. When Lin Che and Gu Jingze returned, the family members had already rushed to welcome them. Yu Minmin was still there, but he was still in a wheelchair, accompanied by his personal guards. Abai also came to visit. Xin Yuran didn't come. It was said that he had gone abroad with Qin Yuqing and hadn't returned yet. Lin Che was so touched that she was about to cry when she saw familiar people again. She quickly went over to hug them. "God, I thought I wouldn't see you guys again." "Seriously," Yu Minmin said, "Fool, how could you not see us?" She let go of Yu Minmin and looked at her. "What happened to you? Why are you in a wheelchair after not seeing you for a few days?" Yu Minmin sighed and said, "I had an accident," Abai explained to her. "She just fell into the water and her arm was a little bruised, but Mr. President didn't seem to allow her to get out of the wheelchair and even sent a few people to watch over her." Lin Che said, "No way, Mr. President is so overbearing." She flipped Yu Minmin up and down. Seeing that she was fine, she knew that the accident shouldn't be too serious. Relieved, she teased, "Looks like Mr. President is too nervous." Gu Jingze came behind Lin Che. "I think Big Brother's idea is not bad. I wonder where you ordered this wheelchair. I should order one for you too." Lin Che pouted and said, "I don't want it. Is there something wrong with you?" Yu Minmin teased as she looked at her stomach. "Of course I need it. The one in your stomach is priceless." She said, "Hurry up, I'll give you the wheelchair." Lin Che glared at Yu Minmin. Abai said, "Looking at you guys, I feel that having a boyfriend is actually a pretty good thing." Lin Che said, "What? It depends on the person. If you met someone like that, you would be annoyed to death, okay? She pointed at Gu Jingze beside her. Gu Jingze's eyes narrowed dangerously as he stared at Lin Che. Lin Che was startled, thinking that he was going to kiss her in front of everyone. She hurriedly covered her face with her hands. Abai and Yu Minmin hurriedly said, Aya, if you want to show off your love, go inside and do it. Lin Che blushed and said, of course not. They had no idea how evil Gu Jingze was. He was clearly doing it on purpose, okay? Gu Jingze looked at Lin Che's expression. He lowered his head and kissed her cheek before saying, all right, you guys chat. I'll go in and rest first. Lin Che was petrified. Abai watched him go in, then turned to Lin Che and said, wow, Gu Jingze looks so handsome when he kisses you. Yu Minmin shrugged. Yeah, a handsome guy is handsome in everything he does. Lin Che snorted. Alright, stop joking around. I just came back and haven't sorted out my thoughts yet. You guys are already teasing me. Yu Minmin said, I just came back from abroad. I only heard that you guys were in a dangerous situation. Gu Jingming wouldn't let me participate no matter what. Thinking about how she had been watched by him these past few days and how he had been carrying her around like a mouse in his pocket, she felt depressed. The Bai said, I'm fine. I can only wait here for news. It's just that some media from country C took pictures of Li Mingyu shopping with you in America. They even said that you bought half of the shopping mall in one go. Everyone thought that you hooked up with a tycoon from country A. Lin Che said gloomily, what do you mean hooked up with him? I was so angry that I wanted to spend all his money. Don't be so dejected. I read the comments. A lot of people are envious of you, Abai said. Lin Che felt even more bored. They didn't know that she had almost experienced life and death these past few days. However, thinking about how she had gone through thick and thin with Gu Jingze because of this matter, she felt much closer to him, and her heart felt very warm. However, she really didn't want to experience something like this again in the future. Yu Minmin looked at Lin Che. I can't believe I'm going to be an aunt. How's your stomach? Is it okay these past few days? It's fine. I just came back to get a shot to protect the fetus. The doctor will also tell me to rest more. Then go in and rest. After Lin Che was sent inside, he saw that Xin Yuran had called him again. She said on the phone, I was so worried when I heard that you were back. I almost went to country 8 to look for you, but Chen Yuqing didn't let me go and cause trouble. Didn't you go abroad? Lin Che said, don't rush back. I'm fine at home. But I'm going back in 2 days anyway. She paused and said, I'm going to marry Chen Yuqing. What? Lin Che's voice was so loud that Yu Minmin and Bai were shocked. What are you shouting for? I'll tell you the details when I get back tomorrow. Shen Yuran snorted and said, I also bought something for my future nephew. Wait for me. All right, I'll question you when I get back. You're going to get married. This is also sudden. Shen Yuran said embarrassedly. Actually, Shen Yuran was indeed a little surprised. Chen Yuqing had said that he would take her abroad to attend a meeting, but in the end, he had taken Shen Yuran to the Chen family in America to meet his parents. The Chen family had always been against it, but seeing that Chen Yuqing had taken her back, they didn't say anything. They just told them to slowly prepare for the wedding and not to worry. Chen Yuqing didn't listen to them at all. He only said that the wedding would be held in 2 months and that he would make his own arrangements when he came back. The Chen family was furious. On one hand, Xin Yuran was very touched by Chen Yuqing's seriousness towards her, but on the other hand, she was a little worried that he would have a conflict with his family. However, the difference between the two families was indeed quite big. She could understand the Chen family's disapproval, but she was helpless that she had come to this point with Chen Yuqing. Now, it was impossible for her to let him go. Lin Che had just rested at home when Mu Wanqing came. She brought a lot of things, big and small, all of which were children's toys. She said, if you're going abroad to recuperate, I'll bring these things for you first. You can rest for a few days. After a few days, when you're better, we'll go buy them. Looking at so many things, Lin Che really wondered if Mu Wanqing had moved an entire shop here. Mu Wanqing, on the other hand, felt that it was very normal. She asked the servants to quickly vacate a room as a baby's room. Even if they didn't give birth in the country, that room would be used sooner or later. Chapter 736. In the afternoon, Lin Che followed Mu Wanqing to study the baby's room. Mu Wanqing smiled as she held Lin Che's hand and said to the servant, "I've asked someone to book a bed in Italy. It'll be delivered to you when the time comes. Tell me when you're done. Don't renovate the room. It's not good for the child no matter what. Just add something. When he's older, he'll want his own house." She smiled and said to Lin Che, "In the future, you won't be able to keep him. Just like Jingza and the others, he won't live with us. He'll have his own place outside when he's young." Lin Che thought that they had to be rich people. Ordinary people would live together no matter how old they were. She hadn't thought that far ahead. Seeing Mu Wanqing happily start to buy a house for the child, Lin Che exclaimed in his heart. The child was only 2 months old, she didn't have to think that far ahead. When Mu Wanqing finally left, Lin Che said to Gu Jingza, "Mom said she wants to buy a villa for the child near us." Gu Jingza only responded with an "oh." Lin Che said, "Hey, the child hasn't even taken shape yet. Isn't it too early to start taking care of this?" Gu Jingza said, "She has a lot of private money that she has nowhere to spend. Just let her take care of it." Lin Che looked at Gu Jingza speechlessly and said to him, "Rich people are inhumane." Gu Jingza was still resting at home. He hadn't gone to deal with the company's matters. The injuries on his body had healed a lot. He looked at Lin Che and caressed her hand, thinking that if it were in the past, he would have pressed her here and made love with her. It would have been very uncomfortable. But today, he sighed and touched her stomach. Mother is happy. She doesn't think about her son at all. Lin Che didn't understand what Gu Jingza meant, but when she saw Gu Jingza glancing at her chest, she suddenly understood. "Hey, you're so annoying. Seriously, you're still thinking about this when you're covered in injuries." Gu Jingza said, "That's why I need your comfort. Otherwise..." He held her hand and wanted to reach down. Lin Che quickly pulled her hand back. "Let go of me. Get lost. Don't think about it. Seriously, someone will come in later." As expected, a servant knocked on the door at this time. Gu Jingza looked at Lin Che's flushed face and had no choice but to let go of her. He knew in his heart that these days had been very tiring, so he did not want to torment her. After this period of time, she would not be able to escape. Shen Yuran returned to Country C and immediately went to visit Lin Che the moment he got home. Shen Yuran had also brought a small gift for Lin Che. She had chosen a piece of clothing from America and brought it in. Chen Yuqing followed behind her, and he looked quite normal. He looked at Lin Che and said, "I told her that she didn't need to buy anything. Your house should have already piled up a mountain, but she didn't believe me." Shen Yuran snorted and said, "Of course I'm going to buy it. I'm his godmother." Lin Che said, "That's right. You don't need other people's gifts, but you have to let the baby wear yours first." Shen Yuran raised her head proudly at Chen Yuqing and said to her, "You want to be my godmother? Become the godmother of the heir of the Gu family? Looks like I won't be able to bully you in the future. Now you have a backer." Shen Yuran was stunned for a moment, then she suddenly remembered. She covered her mouth and said excitedly, "It's true. This child is the heir of the Gu family. I almost forgot about it. Lin Che, then he is the heir. Do you want me to be his godmother? Will Gu Jingza disagree?" Lin Che's expression hardened. He won't dare to disagree. I'll make him agree. Shen Yuran hugged Lin Che excitedly. "I'm considered to be related to a rich family. Think about it. In the future, if I tell people that the child of the Gu family is my godson, how cool will that be?" Shen Yuran thought of something and said, "You haven't confirmed whether it's a boy or a girl yet, right?" Chen Yuqing said speechlessly, "How old are you to be so sure? Where's your medical knowledge?" Shen Yuran turned around and glared at him. "I'm just that stupid. What can you do?" Chen Yuqing shook his head and said, Fine. Forget it. It's enough that we have a smart person in our family. I hope that if we have children in the future, They will inherit my IQ. Get lost. Who wants to have children with you? Shin Yuran blushed and poked Chen Yuqing with her elbow. Lin Che said, Hey, I know you're going to get married. You don't have to be so obvious. You're too intimate. Although he said that, Lin Che was still very happy for them. Shin Yuran became even more shy. She pushed Lin Che hard to stop him from saying anything else. However, Chen Yuqing said generously, It's not like when Gu Jingze is so intimate with you. Shin Yuran said, That's the real intimate. Just like you. Look at how well Gu Jingze treats Lin Che, and look at you. You're always going against me. Chen Yuqing looked at Lin Che speechlessly. In the future, stay away from us when you show off your affection. Otherwise, we won't be able to stand being compared to Gu Jingze all the time. After Chen Yuqing went in to see Gu Jingze, he went back to the Shin mansion with Shin Yuran. The Shin family had not expected Shin Yuran to get married so soon. After Shin Yuran had an argument with her family and left, she didn't like to go home anymore. She wouldn't go home unless she was called. This time, Shin Yuran told father and mother Shin in advance that she was going home to discuss something with them. Then, she brought Chen Yuqing home with her. When they entered the house, father and mother Shin guessed something when they saw that Chen Yuqing had come with them. They looked at Shin Yuran in surprise and said, You're? Shin Yuran pulled Chen Yuqing over. Chen Yuqing said directly, Auntie, Uncle, I'm here to propose a marriage. Yuran and I are going to get married. As expected, father and mother Shin were stunned. They looked at the two of them and couldn't react for a long time. In the end they said, Okay then. We'll give our blessings to you if you want to get married. However, Dr. Chin, the gap between our families is very big. Did your family agree to it? Chen Yuqing said, My family listened to me and agreed to let us get married. However, they are far away in America and it's not convenient for them to visit. So, I'm here to propose first. Father and Mother Shin knew that it was not appropriate for them to come all the way from America. Mother Shin looked at Chen Yuqing and said, I won't say anything else. If you want to get married, then get married. However, you can't sign any prenuptial agreement before getting married. Otherwise, if you bully our Yuran in the future, we won't be able to stand up to you. Shin Yuran heard this. They had just mentioned marriage and now they were talking about property. She frowned and said, Mom, what are you doing? Chen Yuqing stopped Shin Yuran and said to her, Auntie is worried about me. Moreover, love is a matter between two people. Marriage does involve more. I promise you that I will consider marriage carefully. I won't sign a prenuptial agreement. Shin Yuran was stunned as she looked at Chen Yuqing. Her mouth moved, but she couldn't say anything to be touched. Although love couldn't be measured by money, his sincerity was enough to show that he was sincere towards her. Love couldn't be measured by money, but it could be judged by money. Chapter 737. When Mr. and Mrs. Shin heard this, they did not expect Chen Yuqing to be so generous. Mrs. Shin cheered up and said, Will your family agree to it if you don't sign it? Chen Yuqing said, My money is my money. My family gave me a trust fund before I came of age. All my assets are deposited in the bank in the form of a trust fund, so my family can't interfere with my affairs. They don't need to interfere with my own business either. Mrs. Shin had thought that since these rich and powerful families were all young masters and their money was in the hands of their parents, it would not be good for Shin Yuran to marry into their family and have to submit to their in-laws. Hearing this, Mrs. Shin was relieved. Mr. Shin didn't care about this. The money belonged to them anyway, and they didn't want to get married for their money. They just wanted to see the other party's attitude based on the money. Mr. Shin said, How about this? Let's go with the tradition. Now that you are engaged, we'll listen to your family about the wedding. We'll just cooperate. Mrs. Shin saw that he made it sound so easy. If they were to humble themselves like that, wouldn't their family look down on them even more? They might even think that they were eager to marry their child into the Chen family. So Mrs. Shin added, But we can't skip on the monetary gift. Chen Yuqing said, You can decide on the monetary gift. We'll just listen to the elders. Mrs. Shin looked at him and said tentatively, Then, how about 500,000? Chen Yuqing agreed immediately. Okay, 500,000. Shen Yuran objected immediately. She shouted, Mom, how can it be 500,000? I think it's only 100,000 at most. Mrs. Shen didn't expect Chen Yuqing to agree so readily. She was still feeling happy, but her daughter was already siding with an outsider. She glared at Shen Yuran and wanted to say that this girl was too stupid. Sooner or later, Chen Yuqing would be able to control her. But she could only glare at her and say, their family is so rich. If you don't keep some money for yourself, how do you know that they won't bully you in the future? We won't ask for the money. We'll still keep it for your dowry. Shen Yuran said, no matter how rich their family is, it has nothing to do with me. However much money they want is how much we want. It's only because of traditional etiquette. Otherwise, it wouldn't matter even if I didn't want a single cent. Chen Yuqing looked at her and said, it's okay, Hun. My money is your money, and your money is my money. We don't have to separate you from me. If you take it, I take it. Isn't it just transferring the husband's money to the wife's card? It's not a big deal. Shen Yuran's heart softened when she heard this. Mother Shen looked at Chen Yuqing and listened to his words. She couldn't help but feel moved. She had originally thought that Chen Yuqing was unreliable, but now she felt that Yuran was too lucky. There was actually such a good man in the world who was so generous to his wife. What else could she say? She immediately agreed. After leaving the house, Shen Yuran looked at Chen Yuqing and said, my mom and the others are too much. How can you agree to this? Are you stupid? Chen Yuqing held her hand and said, they're the stupid ones. They sold you to me so cheaply. When the time comes, your money will be mine. I'm willing to pay any amount of money, let alone 500,000. It'll come back to me anyway. When Shen Yuran heard this, she laughed and hit him on the chest. The two of them left the Shen family together to prepare for their departure. Lin Che returned to the company first and applied for a few days' leave from Hollywood, but they didn't say anything. It was said that Li Mingyu's people went to apply for leave that day, and they were so scared that they didn't dare to respond. Everything in the company was as usual. When Lin Che arrived at the company, he had to settle the matters after he went to recuperate. Because he hadn't reported that he was pregnant to anyone, he needed an excuse to go out. She was going to recuperate after she finished filming the Hollywood movie. When that time came, she would directly announce to the public that she was studying abroad and would return after she gave birth to the child. Abai said to Lin Che, I'm still very reluctant for you to leave. I might go over to see you from time to time. Don't think I'm annoying. Lin Che pinched Abai's cheek. How could that be? But are you going to stay here and not go back to your father's place? Abai smiled as she looked at the company. I think it's much more fun here than in America. Also, I like it here very much. Lin Che narrowed his eyes and looked at Abai. With a sly look on his face, he said, do you like it here, or do you like the people here? A blush flashed across Abai's face, and she quickly said, I don't. Lin Che deliberately twisted the topic and said directly, I mean you like the staff here, Min, me, and the other people in this company. Abai knew that she had been teased. She twisted her butt and bumped into him. You're a mother, yet you're still talking nonsense. After bumping into her, she remembered that she still had one in her stomach. Sorry. I forgot that you're pregnant. I even bumped into you, Abai said quickly. Lin Che said indifferently, I'm not that delicate. I can't even touch you. Abai said, Sister, you said that your child is very precious from birth. Of course I have to be careful. I don't want to be chased by Gu Jingze. The two of them chatted and laughed as they walked. When they saw Shui Yang walking over, he smiled and said, Sister Che, I heard. Congratulations. Lin Che was stunned. Then, he saw Abai sticking out her tongue and knew that it was Abai who said it. She patted Abai on the head, but didn't say anything. She smiled and said generously, Thank you. I'm going to leave here soon to go to Los Angeles to film. I can't watch you, but you have to work hard. Shui Yang nodded at her seriously. I'll definitely work hard. Lin Che smiled and left. Shui Yong looked at him and asked Bai, "Is Sister Che going to be away for a long time?" "Yeah, she's going abroad to raise the baby." Shui Yong took a deep breath and looked at Bai. "Aren't you going back?" He knew that Bai had followed Lin Che to country seek, otherwise, why would a missy like her come here? Bai said, "I'm not going back." "Why would I go back?" Shui Yong looked at her. "You're going to stay here?" Bai smiled and nodded. "Yeah, I'm going to stay here and continue learning with Sister Yu." Shui Yong didn't expect that Bai would stay. He looked at Bai and realized that he actually didn't want her to leave. Although they hadn't known each other for long, he still liked spending time with her. Shui Yong carried his backpack. "All right then. If you stay, I'll treat you to a meal. Let's go." Chapter 738. You're so happy. Is there something good? Bai asked. Shui Yang nodded. Yeah, I auditioned for a male lead. Although it's a script full of newcomers, this is my first time being a male lead. Wow, that's great. Congratulations. Can I see a new star rising again? Bai smiled and applauded him with a happy face. Shui Yang said, That's right. I still have to ask Sister Yu to arrange an agent for me. It was always Sister Yu doing it before. I think she's very busy. Actually, I don't need her to personally keep an eye on me. She's already so busy. I just need a newcomer to take care of me. Bai said, then let me take care of you. I'll be your agent. Shui Yang smiled in surprise and looked at Bai. Forget it. What? Don't you trust me? Although I don't know how to do it now, I can learn. It's not that I don't trust you. I just think that it's fine if you just play around. It's very tiring to be an agent. Moreover, there are a lot of things to do. You're still so young. I don't care about being someone else's agent. I'll be your agent. Bai shook her head and looked at him seriously. The more she thought about it, the more she felt that it was a good idea. Moreover, she was really interested. She hugged Shui Yang's arm. Be my artiste. I really want to be an agent. If you become my artiste, we'll progress together. You're my first artiste and I'll be your first personal agent. In the future, you'll be famous and I'll be able to earn a lot of money. How great would that be? What pocket full of money? Shui Yang looked at Bai helplessly. This money was nothing to her. However, Bai's pestering appearance was really... It was hard to refuse and he couldn't hate her either. He said, You still have to tell Sister Yu. I can't make the decision. Shui Yang thought that even if Bai was just playing around, he would just play with her. It was nothing much anyway. Sister Yu was in charge of the overall situation, so it wouldn't be a mess. Bai immediately went to do it. She happily went to find Yu Minmin and told her that she had decided to be an agent. Yu Minmin heard Bai's words and was speechless. You really want to be an agent? Yeah, I'll be Shui Yang's agent, okay? Yu Minmin shook her head helplessly. However, in fact, she was not afraid that Bai would cause trouble. At this time, Yu Minmin also thought that a person's family background determined that a lot of things would be easier for her to do the day after tomorrow. For example, at this time, Yu Minmin dared to use her because he knew that even if she caused trouble, she had the ability to settle it. Even if she didn't have the ability, she had a bottom line. The Wesley family would not let their daughter lose face outside. They would help her settle it no matter what, so Yu Minmin dared to give her this opportunity. Yu Minmin nodded in agreement. All right, but let's make this clear. You'll get the same salary as you train Shui Yang pay. If you mess up, you'll lose your salary. I Bai, I Yang Shui Yang. You, I won. Yang, I won. Yu Minmin knew that she didn't care about the money. Although her company wasn't big, there were a lot of strong people. Even her agent was the daughter of Wesley's family. Soon, Yu Minmin returned to Glass Palace. However, when she arrived at Glass Palace, she felt a little uncomfortable. Then she felt nauseous. She ran to the bathroom and vomited. She raised her head in surprise and vomited. She found water to wash her mouth and looked at herself in the mirror. She couldn't help but think of Lin Che. Lin Che had just had this experience. Yu Minmin didn't even need to think about it. She walked around outside and paced back and forth. She thought that she hadn't had her period for a long time, but she had been busy recently, so she didn't remember. Seeing Yu Minmin pacing back and forth, Gu Jingming came back and threw the clothes to the servant. He walked over and asked, "What happened?" Yu Minmin's face was pale. She looked at Gu Jingming. "What should I do?" "Something is going to happen." Gu Jingming saw that she seemed to be very serious, so his expression became more serious. "What happened? Tell me." Yu Minmin lowered her head. Her expression became worse. "I think I'm pregnant." Gu Jingming's eyes froze. Yu Minmin looked at him. She was even more afraid. "What's wrong? Is it bad?" She knew that they had been forced to get married in the beginning. There were many political factors involved. She didn't expect that she would be pregnant so soon. Gu Jingming's expression was complicated. He looked at Yu Minmin and said, "Have you confirmed it?" Yu Minmin shook her head quickly. "Not yet. I'm just guessing." Gu Jingming immediately looked up and said to the servant, "Go outside and call the doctor." Seeing that both of them looked very serious, the servant ran out quickly and urgently called for the president's personal doctor. However, when the doctors arrived, Gu Jingming said, "Take a look at her." Seeing so many doctors, Yu Minmin held her forehead gloomily. She didn't dare to raise her head. She was only going to buy a pregnancy test. Why would she call a doctor? The doctor asked seriously, "Sir, what's wrong with madam?" Gu Jingming lowered his head to look at Yu Minmin. Yu Minmin could only lower her head even more. "It's just that her period is irregular. She's not feeling well. She feels like vomiting." "Something like that? What?" The doctor was even more confused. She looked up speechlessly. These doctors made so much money. Couldn't they understand what she was saying? She said, "I said that my period hasn't come yet. I'm also vomiting and lethargic." The doctor was stunned. She quickly said, "Madam, are you saying that you suspect that you're pregnant?" Yu Minmin glared at the doctor. The doctor suddenly realized that she wasn't sick. However, they were the president's personal doctor. None of them was a professional gynecologist. At night, the doctors called the gynecologist urgently and asked her to take a look at Yu Minmin. She drew her blood and did a test. Soon the results were out. The doctor said to Gu Jingming excitedly, "Mr. President, Madam is really pregnant. Please take a look." Gu Jingming paused. He looked at the results and seemed to think for a moment. He immediately said, "Don't let the news out yet." "Yes, Mr. President. If you don't tell us, we won't tell anyone." Gu Jingming was surprised. "How is she?" Chapter 739. The doctor looked at it and said, "The amount of IVF has increased, but it's not enough. We think that she's retching too early and not feeling well. Maybe the baby is not stable yet. We suggest that Madam rest more. Don't overwork yourself and don't have sex." Gu Jingming was silent for a long time. He looked at Yu Minmin, who had her head down, not knowing what to say. Gu Jingming waved his hand to dismiss them. Then he looked at Yu Minmin and asked, "What's wrong?" Yu Minmin said, "Are we keeping the child?" She hadn't prepared herself at all. She had never thought that she would have a child with Gu Jingming. How could something like this happen? However, she had been having sex with Gu Jingming too often. When Gu Jingming had time, he would torment her a few times a night. When he didn't have time, he would drag her along for a quick session. In short, he would come almost every day, so she didn't know when the protection was complete and when it wasn't. This was really an unexpected pregnancy, which made her feel very unprepared. Gu Jingming looked up at her. "You don't want to stay?" Yu Minmin said, "But this child isn't part of the plan, so you still want to abort it?" Gu Jingming's gaze turned colder. He looked down at her. "I can tell you that it's impossible. The child will definitely be born." Yu Minmin looked at him in surprise. She didn't expect him to make up his mind without even thinking about it. Gu Jingming snorted. "You want to abort the child?" Yuminmin, you're really? Why was she so unwilling to give birth to his child? He almost wanted to pinch her face and ask her why she was so unwilling. What was wrong with his child? Yuminmin said, "It's not anything else. It's a child." "I know it's a child," he said. He said, "I'm Gu Jingming's child, so you have to bear it well. If anything goes wrong..." He pinched her chin and looked at her. "From tomorrow onwards, don't go to the company anymore." "What?" Yuminmin said in surprise. "What's this for?" "The doctor said that you're not in good health and need to rest and..." He looked down at her face quietly. "Don't even think about finding a chance to get rid of the child now." Yuminmin's mind was in a mess. Looking at Gu Jingming, who was as overbearing as ever, he really wanted to kick him. The next day, Gu Jingming woke up early in the morning and asked the servants to prepare clothes for Yuminmin. Yuminmin was a little surprised. "Are they going to participate in some kind of event?" The servant said, "Yes, Madam, Mr. President is attending the club's gathering today." Club? Yuminmin immediately understood. "Their riding club?" "Yes, Madam. Sir has always gone by himself. This is the first time he has brought Madam there. Madam, you have to prepare well." Yuminmin recalled what he said yesterday. He wanted to keep a good eye on her. She felt even more depressed. It seemed that he was really a man of action. He did what he said. Yuminmin said, "He doesn't want to bring me along. That was supposed to be a gathering of his friends. Why would he bring her along for no reason? There must be some other reason." Yuminmin was dressed neatly. Gu Jingming had already walked over nimbly. "I've already told my family about your pregnancy." "Family? The Gu family?" "That's right." Gu Jingming only said this before he picked up the clothes and helped Yuminmin put them on. "All right, let's go. You already know about the friends you met today. You don't have to be restrained." Yuminmin was even more shocked. He had actually announced it to everyone. Could it be that he really needed a child now? Otherwise, why would he be so diligent in promoting it? They went straight to the horse farm. Getting out of the car, they saw the people standing outside. There were many familiar faces, including In Xia, Fang Zhongmo, and Su. They were all members of the club, so they would definitely be present at the gathering. Gu Jingming got out of the car and turned around to help Yuminmin up. He pulled her down with him. Su Yi teased him from behind. "Aya, a new father is indeed different. Jingming, I didn't expect you to be the first among us to be a father. This is really surprising." He smiled at Yuminmin. Yuminmin could only glare at him. In Suya paused at the side. She looked at Gu Jingming, but realized that Gu Jingming didn't even look at her. Was he purposely avoiding her gaze? She didn't know. She felt that she didn't know anything today. Ever since she heard that Gu Jingming was going to be a father, and that the pregnant person was actually Yuminmin, she felt that she had become numb. She didn't even know how she had gotten here. But seeing Yuminmin being held by Gu Jingza personally, that suffocating feeling made her return to reality. Gu Jingming looked at Su. "My functions are normal, so it's normal for me to be a father." What he meant was that Su Yi had so many women, but he still hadn't become a father. It seemed that his functions were abnormal. Su Yi immediately clamored, "I'm taking better precautions. I can't let a woman suffer because of me. Sigh. Besides, I'm not even legal yet. How can I have a child? But, you guys have been so busy recently, yet you still have time to make a child. Really?" He looked at the two of them ambiguously, which made the people around them burst into laughter. Only In Suya was left. She couldn't even hide the sadness on her face. She looked at Gu Jingming, listened to everyone's ambiguous teasing, and thought about the two of them being intimate on the bed. She only felt disgusted. Utterly disgusted. How could Gu Jingming be so intimate with Yuminmin? However, Gu Jingming really wasn't looking at her. He only looked at everyone's teasing with Yuminmin. Looking at Yuminmin's red face, he said to everyone, "Are you all bored? Are you all here to ride a horse today?" Everyone laughed as they walked in. Seeing Gu Jingza holding Yuminmin's arm, they sighed inwardly. The Gu family had one more grandson. Was Yuminmin going to become a mother because of her son? Yuminmin's life had been turned around too much. From a commoner to the president's wife, and now, She was going to give birth to the next generation of the Gu family. Everyone chatted and drank tea, preparing to choose a horse while the sun was shining brightly. Gu Jingming looked at Yuminmin. Because she wasn't familiar with them and had never ridden a horse before, she didn't speak much as she sat there, nor did she think of riding one. He thought for a moment and pulled Yuminmin up. "Let's go and choose a horse." Yuminmin hurriedly said, "I don't know how to ride one." "I'll bring you along." Gu Jingming had already stood up. Chapter 740. Yuminmin had no choice but to follow him out. Outside, the horses in the stables were all prettier than the last. She could tell that they were expensive. Riding a horse was a pastime of the rich. Yuminmin had only seen donkey carts in the village. She had never seen such handsome horses. Each of them looked like a warrior. Gu Jingming said, "Pick a beautiful one." "Let me do it. I don't know how to pick one." "It's okay if I pick one randomly, right?" Yuminmin fed the horse some fodder and said with a smile. Gu Jingming looked at her. "The horses here are carefully selected. There won't be any bad ones. You can pick any one of them and it won't hurt you." Yuminmin pointed at a maroon horse in the middle and said, "I'll take this one. I think its fur is very pretty. It's shiny." Gu Jingming looked down at her and smiled. "You have good taste. This is the best one here." He gave the order and someone let the maroon horse out. He said, "It's called Lightning." What an old-fashioned name, Yuminmin couldn't help but say. Gu Jingming still looked at her with a faint smile. "This horse is a British noble horse. It was shipped here by air. The total price is about $70 million US. She really didn't think that this horse was old-fashioned anymore. She touched it quickly and said, "Are we going to ride it?" She would feel like she was flying if she were to ride on a $70 million US horse. Gu Jingming smiled and took her hand. "You can't ride it yourself. I'll carry you." With that said, he hugged her waist and lifted her onto the horse. "Hey, Yuminmin was shocked when she got up. Luckily, Gu Jingming jumped up and sat on the chair. He wrapped his arms around Yuminmin's waist from behind and held the reins with both hands. His breath was right beside Yuminmin's ear as he hugged her. It was as though her entire body was curled up in his strong embrace. It was a sight that made one's heart soften and yearn for it. Gu Jingming seemed even taller in this way. Contrasted with Yuminmin's small body, he looked so strong. When the people outside heard the noise, they couldn't help but raise their heads. When they saw Yuminmin and Gu Jingming coming out like this, they couldn't help but smile. "I didn't expect Mr. President and Mrs. President to be so loving. Envy me. Look at how cold our Mr. President is to everyone. At this time, he is so good to Mrs. President. He even carried Mrs. President out like this." Sigh, some girls felt that this was even more romantic. Riding on a horse, they didn't even want to look valiant and heroic. They might as well sit in a man's arms and not do anything at all. However, it was a pity that not everyone had Gu Jingming to back them up. Everyone looked at the other men. Although they were all rich and had hundreds of millions of yuan in wealth, none of them was as rich as Gu Jingming and had such an imposing manner. Everyone felt even more envious of Yuminmin. On the internet, Gu Jingming had never brought a woman with him. But today, not only did he bring the president's wife, but he also showed off his affection. It was an eye-opener for them. Suya couldn't help but feel her heart ache even more as she watched. She pulled the reins and couldn't stand it anymore. She turned around and ran away with the horse. When they arrived, Gu Jingming got off the horse and walked slowly with Yuminmin. The scene was so exquisite that it could be printed as a postcard. Everyone looked at Gu Jingming with a smile. "Jingming, are you here to bully us single people today?" Gu Jingming looked at the female companions they brought. How could they call them single? However, to these rich men, female companions were indeed just female companions, not girlfriends. Yuminmin was also watching. She felt very surprised. Although these stinky men from rich families were telling the truth, they were still doing it in front of a woman. Yuminmin couldn't stand it anymore. She patted Gu Jingming and said, "Let me down. I want to go to the washroom." Hearing this, Gu Jingming walked over. Everyone was amazed as they watched him carry Yu Minmin down. He looked so cool. Yu Minmin didn't think much of it. She smiled awkwardly at everyone and hurried to the washroom. At this moment, Gu Jingming saw Yin Suya raise her head and look into his eyes while holding the reins of the horse. Everyone knew about them. All the people in the club had seen them come so far. Thus, the few of them quickly gave the place to the two of them. Yin Suya's mouth was trembling. She looked at Gu Jingming and asked, "Is she pregnant?" Gu Jingming fiddled with the reins in his hands. He looked calm and said, "Yes." "You're going to be a father?" Yin Suya's voice was trembling. Gu Jingming said, "Yes." Yin Suya looked at his face and said, "I'm so jealous. What should I do?" "Jingming, I'm so jealous that she can give birth to your child." She was really jealous. The more jealous she was, the more regretful she felt. These were all hers. Why did she have to push them away? All these envious and amazed gazes belonged to her. Gu Jingming took a deep breath and said, "Suya, it's all over now. But, all right, I'm going to find Yu Minmin. It's not safe for her to go to the washroom alone. You're so considerate towards her now." Yin Suya was in disbelief. Gu Jingming said, "Yes, she's actually not bad." Not bad. For Gu Jingming, who was a man of few words, not bad was probably the highest comment he could give to someone. Yin Suya moved. She felt as if her soul had been sucked out of her body. Gu Jingming didn't turn around. He walked towards the door. But, just as he reached the door, Gu Jingming heard the person inside moaning. Gu Jingming paused for a moment. His eyes moved and he suddenly felt that something was wrong. He went to the door. "What's wrong, Minmin?" He knocked on the door and asked. Yu Minmin's voice came from inside, but it was very soft. Behind him, the bodyguard walked over. "Sir, what's wrong with madam?" "Open the door," Gu Jingming ordered. The bodyguard hurried over to pull the door handle. Gu Jingming couldn't wait any longer. He pushed the bodyguard over and said, "Move." Then he kicked open the washroom door. Yu Minmin fell to the side, holding her stomach. "It hurts?" She raised her head and said weakly. Not long after she reached the washroom, her stomach started to hurt. She thought it was just normal pain. Unexpectedly, the pain became more and more severe. It was an unusual kind of pain. It was so painful that it scared her. She suddenly thought of the child. Her and Gu Jingming's child. Gu Jingming's face darkened. He lowered his head and hugged her tightly. He carried her horizontally and dashed out of the washroom. Chapter 741. Gu Jingming was very fast. He dashed out of the room with Yu Minmin in a few steps. The people outside still didn't know what had happened, but Gu Jingming had already gestured for the driver to drive off. In Glass Palace, Gu Jingming stood outside. His expression was so serious that no one dared to go near him. The room was so silent that even the sound of a pin dropping on the floor could be heard. After some time, the doctor came out of the room. Looking at Gu Jingming, the doctor pursed his lips and didn't know what to say. At this moment, Gu Jingming spoke first. "How is she?" The doctor took a deep breath and said, "Sir, the operation has been done. Madam had an ectopic pregnancy this time and the fetus is attached to one side of the fallopian tube. Now that the operation is over, Madam's body is fine and the fallopian tube is saved, but the fetus, ectopic pregnancy. The child would definitely be lost." Gu Jingming's hands slowly clenched. He lowered his head and closed his eyes. After a while, he slowly raised his head. He seemed to have returned to normal in an instant. He strode into the room. He pushed the door open. Yu Minmin was lying there with a pale face. She looked very tired. Hearing the movement, she raised her head and saw Gu Jingming. She moved her lips. "The child?" She was about to speak, but Gu Jingming had already walked over. He held her hand and asked her to continue lying there. "There will be more children. You should take care of yourself. The next one will be official." Yu Minmin was stunned. Indeed, the child was gone. However, she wasn't surprised. She had already felt it when her stomach hurt. In the afternoon, Lin Che, who had just heard the news, rushed to Glass Palace. Xin Yuran also came with him. Yu Minmin looked at the two of them, smiled and said, "Forget it. Don't treat it as a big deal. It's just an ectopic pregnancy. This is very common." Lin Che sighed and looked at her. Lin Che sighed as he looked at her. "All right, it's good that you found out early. It's good that you're fine. Besides, the president's medical team is better and has saved the fallopian tubes. In the future, you'll still be this healthy. It won't be a problem to have as many children as you want." Yu Minmin glared at her and said, "You should just take care of your own body. Don't worry about me. You too. I heard that you're getting married and you're busy with your wedding. It's really not that big of a deal for me. I didn't even think about having a child in the first place. It's just a sudden accident. I haven't even realized it yet. You guys are even more anxious than me." At this moment, the servant came in and brought over the refreshments and tonic soup prepared for Yu Minmin. Lin Che said, "Let me." She looked at the things that were brought over and said in surprise, "So many." The servant explained on the side, "You ordered me to prepare it. He also specially said that Madam's body is weak. You have to watch Madam drink all of this." Shen Yuran said, "So much nourishing soup. After drinking it all, how many times do you need to go to the toilet in a day?" Yu Minmin also sighed and said, "All right, put it aside first. I'll drink it slowly." Ever since Gu Jingming left Lapis Lazuli Palace, he had been sending people to deliver things to her. He took care of her a little too much, which made her a little speechless. Yu Minmin said, "You guys can leave first. I'm really fine. It's just a small operation. Lin Che, when you leave in a few days, I still have to send you off. Forget it. You should just stay here and rest. You don't have to send me off. We'll video call each other later." Lin Che and Xin Yuran bade Yu Minmin farewell. After Yu Minmin and the others left, she rubbed her stomach, feeling a little regretful. If only the child could be born, but thinking about it, it felt so unreal. When she married Gu Jingming, she had only thought of herself as a tool. Otherwise, how could she have gotten involved with someone like Gu Jingming? But now, she had almost given birth to his child. The child of the Gu family. Thinking about it, she felt that fate was really strange and magical. But now, everything had become a dream. She thought that she really couldn't keep the child. Xin Yuran and Lin Che left together. Xin Yuran sat in the car and looked at Lin Che. "She doesn't look very sad. Is there a problem?" Lin Che said, "She's much stronger than we thought. Luckily, she found out early. She just found out that she was pregnant, and then she found out that it was an ectopic pregnancy." Xin Yuran thought about it and agreed. Otherwise, it would be even more heartbreaking to find out that the child couldn't be born when she was looking forward to the birth of the child. Xin Yuran said, "I thought that you were going to have a child together. If that's the case, the Gu family would be so happy to have 2 children together." Lin Che said, "She will still have a chance in the future. I think Mr. President is actually very good to her. At first, I thought that Mr. President was really just using him, so I kind of hate him for being so duplicitous. But now that I see that he's very good to Min Min, I think that maybe people really change. Yeah, people like Mr. President always have things that they can't control. No matter how they start, if the ending is good, it's also a good thing." The two of them looked at each other and Lin Che said with a smile, "How's the wedding preparation going?" Shen Yuran said, "My mom said that she wanted to get engaged first, and she actually asked for 500,000 yuan as a wedding gift. I really don't know what to say about her, but Chen Yuqing actually gave it to her. My mom had nothing to say, so she said that she would listen to our arrangements. We'll hold it next month in China and then abroad. I originally wanted to say that we could hold our wedding together, but thinking about how important the people you're going to attend your wedding, I think it's better not to go and join in the fun." Lin Che said, "Actually, I don't want to hold such a grand wedding either. Moreover, I'm pregnant now, so it's not good to hold it too grand. But because it was prepared beforehand, it's not good to change it." After the incident in country, Lin Che really felt that as long as the two of them were still alive and could still be together, and their child was still fine, then nothing else mattered. The wedding was because it was a gift from him to her, so she had to accept it. It was also because he was the one who gave it to her, so she was also very happy. Shen Yuran said, then when you go abroad in a few days, Min Min can't send you, so I'll send you? Lin Che held her hand and said, you should also go and busy yourself with your wedding. Dr. Chin is really a good person. I believe that you will be very happy with him. I hope so. It's just that his family hasn't agreed. Shin Yuran felt that a blessed marriage would definitely be happier, but his family just couldn't stand him, so they reluctantly agreed. Chapter 742. Lin Che said, that depends on whether you're willing to sacrifice something else. Nothing is perfect. If you want to be with that man, you'll have to sacrifice something else. What do you think is more important, being with him, or having a blessed marriage? Was there a need to say it? Shin Yuran wanted to be with Chen Yuqing. She admired everything about him, and loved everything about him. As Shin Yuran thought about it, she became even more determined. She didn't want to think about anything else. At this moment, Mu Wanqing found out about Yu Minmin and said that she wanted to visit him. She only called Lin Che because she knew about Lin Che's relationship with Yu Minmin. However, Lin Che said that she had already been there. Mu Wanqing had no choice but to go over and visit him herself. Actually, her relationship with Yu Minmin wasn't as good as with Lin Che. Even though they were both mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, there was always a sense of intimacy. After all, Lin Che was personally chosen by her, and Lin Che was so likable. Therefore, even though she felt that Yu Minmin wasn't bad, she wasn't that familiar with Yu Minmin for the time being. Therefore, before she hung up, she specially told Lin Che to wait for her outside. After seeing Yu Minmin, Mu Wanqing went to meet Lin Che. When she saw Lin Che, she smiled and said, it's a pity that Min Min died this time. Fortunately, you're all young and there will be plenty of opportunities in the future. Lin Che said, yeah, Min Min will be fine. Don't worry. Mu Wanqing sighed and smiled at her, saying, forget it, don't think about so many unhappy things now. Your health is important. I wanted to meet you here because I remembered that there are still some things I haven't bought. I wanted to buy them for you myself, but you are the mother of the child after all. It would be better for us to choose together. Lin Che asked curiously, what else is there? Mu Wanqing said, it's just some things for the child, such as the decorations in the room and some clothes. I want to buy some fabric and get the auntie at home to make some quilts. Come and see what looks good. Although that was Mu Wanqing's plan, if she really bought it, it wouldn't just be a quilt. They had practically swept through the shopping mall and bought many bags of various sizes. When they were tired and worried that Lin Che had walked for too long, they brought Lin Che to a nearby place to rest. At the same time, Gu Jingze also called Lin Che and asked where she was. Lin Che said, I'm with Mom at this mall. I know. Rest more. Don't walk around all the time. Let the people around you do it. Don't force yourself. I know, naggy ghost. Gu Jingze put down the phone and looked up. He saw Gu Xiande standing at the door. He came to the company again, looked at Gu Jingze and said, I've asked all the board members to vote to remove you from the position of president. The whole Gu's has nothing to do with you now. Come home with me. Gu Jingze stood up. They want to remove me from my position? I don't really believe it. The members of the board of directors were all old friends of the Gu family. How could they not know that with Gu Jingze's presence, they could get dividends in peace? If it weren't for Gu Jingze, the Gu family would have fallen apart, and they would not have such a good life now. They had long affirmed Gu Jingze's leadership position, and they all stood by his side. However, what Gu Jingze did not know was that Gu Xiande had put down his old face to persuade everyone. Gu Xiande only said that he was doing it for the good of the Gu family, for the good of everyone. Although Gu Xiande was no longer in charge of the Gu family, his prestige was still there. Moreover, most of the shares of the Gu family belonged to the Gu family, and the master of the Gu family was still Gu Xiande. Therefore, everyone had to listen to him for once. Gu Xiande looked at Gu Jingze and said, don't forget, you are not the master of the Gu family yet. Gu Jingze leaned forward slightly and put his hands on the table. He looked at the old man in front of him, who had shrunk in height because of his old age. Grandfather, you have been against everyone in the family all these years. Aren't you tired? I have listened to you and left Mo wheeling. Now, you want to continue to interfere in the matter between me and Lin Che. Do you think this is fun? Without me, the Gu family will be in trouble within a week. Do you not care about the safety of the Gu family? Gu Xinda shook his head. No, you will understand in the future. I am doing this for the sake of the Gu family. Gu Jingze knew that it was useless to say anything to Gu Xinda. Grandfather, can't you think about the younger generation? Lin Che is pregnant. At this time, you can't let us go and let the child be born safely. Gu Xinda also wanted to, but he did not have that much time. Gu Xinda could only smile bitterly and look at Gu Jingze. Jingze, I did not say that I don't want the child. It's just that we will raise the child. If you insist on being with Lin Che, you will only harm Lin Che. Now, I still want this child. When you force me, you should know that as long as I am the master of the Gu family, no matter how strong your wings are, you will not be able to resist me, unless you wait for me to die. Gu Jingze's eyelids twitched. How could he hope for his grandfather to die? However, Gu Xinda's gaze was cold. It seemed that he was determined to go. He would not care about anyone or anything. Gu Jingze even felt that he had never felt this determination from his grandfather before. It was as if he would really interfere in the matter between him and Lin Che even if he died. Gu Xinda said, there will be a child eventually. This morning, Jingming told me that Min Min also had a child. Although it was gone in the end, you should know that you are not the only male in the Gu family. If you want an heir, the Gu family has many ways. Gu Jingze said, in the beginning, you asked me to marry Lin Che because she was the only one I could touch. Now that I haven't recovered from my illness, don't you think it's strange? Gu Xinda chuckled. No, I've said it before. I asked you to marry her because you can marry any woman, but you can't give up your life for any woman. So I don't want you to waste your time with Mo wheeling. I don't want you to put too much effort into her. But Jingze, you give yourself too easily. You're not suitable to be with any woman. When you're with Mo wheeling, you're like this. When you're not with Mo wheeling, you're still like this. You're really making me doubt whether I've made the right choice to hand the Gu family over to you. Gu Jingze closed his eyes. Are you really going to do this? Gu Xinda laughed coldly. I have no other choice. Jingze, I also want to have more time to teach you. I want you to understand that women are just women. But this time, you actually went against me for her. In the future, will you lose the entire Gu family because of her? I can't afford to take this risk. The Gu family can't afford to take this risk either. So, I can only choose this. Chapter 743. Gu Xinda narrowed his dangerous eyes and looked at him sharply. All right, you're no longer the owner here. Leave this office. Gu Jingze silently walked around the desk and only picked up his clothes. Grandfather, if you continue like this, you'll really be alone one day. Gu Xinda snorted. As the head of the Gu family, you're destined to be alone. If you still don't realize this and think that you still have to protect that woman, then you're indeed not suitable to be the head of the family. However, I need to remind you first that a man can't be ruthless. In order to achieve his goal, he can sacrifice everything. Now, I'm going to sacrifice Lin Che. If I can't do it in the future, I might even sacrifice you. Jingze, I can easily make you lose your current position. How long do you think you can protect Lin Che now? For the rest of your life? Gu Jingze paused. He stopped by the door, but he didn't turn back. He just continued to walk out of the door silently. At home, Lin Che got a lot of things. Seeing Mu Wanqing pile up such a big pile of things again, she felt very helpless. When Gu Jingze came in, Lin Che quickly said, I'd better go abroad as soon as possible. Otherwise, I suspect that Mom is going to buy the entire B city for me. Gu Jingze came to Lin Che's side, looked at Lin Che, and slowly held her hand. Lin Che looked up. What's wrong? Gu Jingze just looked at her quietly. At this moment, he was also glad that he couldn't do anything to her. He knew that she was pregnant, so he could only endure it. Otherwise, if he continued to do it with her now, he was afraid that he would be too impulsive and accidentally hurt her. After an unknown period of time, he finally said, "Okay, if you want, we can send you abroad as soon as possible." "Okay, I don't have anything to do anyway. It's fine if it's early." "Okay, I'll arrange it for you tomorrow." Gu Jingze held her hand. "Let's go and rest. Sleep with me for a while." Lin Che lifted her eyes to look at him as he walked into the bedroom with her in his arms. Even if they didn't do anything, just hugging each other made people feel warm. Gu Jingze held her until the wee hours of the morning. His eyes were still sparkling. He quietly kissed her on her eyes and carefully tucked her in with the quilt. If possible, he really hoped that she would stay by his side so innocently for the rest of her life. That was something he had never thought about Mo Huiling. Therefore, what his grandfather said wasn't right. He wasn't someone who fell in love with everyone he met. Towards Mo Huiling, he only had a faint feeling. He had never been like Lin Che, who couldn't control his emotions and only wanted to be good to her. Even if he gave the whole world to her, he still felt that it wasn't enough. He had never imagined that there would come a day when he would have such strong feelings for someone, much less Lin Che. However, he had no choice but to admit that he was deeply in love with this woman. Moreover, he could not let go of her. Therefore, for her sake, he had to stand higher. Just as grandfather said, a man must be ruthless. In the darkness, his obsidian-like eyes faintly lit up. Then, it slowly returned to the darkness. The next day, Gu Jingze arranged a plane for them. Early in the morning, Lin Che had already packed his luggage. Gu Jingze asked someone to send her to the airport first. Then, he drove her there himself. In the car, he looked at Lin Che and said calmly, "Remember, don't run around. Protect yourself. You have to do this even more when I'm not by your side." Lin Che looked at Gu Jingze and said, "Don't worry, I will. For the sake of our child, I will be careful." Actually, after the incident with Li Mingyu, she had tried her best to be careful. Because she knew that she would have to pay for an accident, so she didn't dare to be so careless. However, at this moment, behind them, there was a car gradually approaching. Gu Jingze's sharp eyes looked through the rearview mirror. He glanced at the black cars behind them. One, two, and then more and more. Gu Jingze's car gradually sped up. Lin Che felt the car speeding up. Soon, the cars beside them were overtaken by her one after another. She couldn't help but reach out to grab the handrail above her head. Although the car was stable, it was moving at an extremely fast speed. The cars beside them looked on. With a swoosh, a dark blue car sped past them. The drivers passing by all wanted to curse out loud, but when they saw the logo of the car, they immediately sneered with jealousy. "You are so great because you are rich. You drive a car worth millions like it is a plane." However, the people behind them felt that something was wrong. Because when the two cars sped past them like the wind, the black cars behind them also sped away. Wow, what's going on? Are they racing on the street? Some people also felt that something was wrong. It was like a scene from a movie. The people in front seemed to be running wildly, and the cars behind seemed to be chasing after them. Lin Che, of course, had noticed something was wrong. She looked at Gu Jingze, whose face was as cold as ice. He pressed his jaw tightly and his long sleeves quickly turned the steering wheel. His expression was firm, but there was a hint of viciousness in his eyes. "Gu Jingze, who are the people behind us?" Gu Jingze said, "My grandfather's men." Lin Che's heart skipped a beat. She suddenly remembered what Gu Xianda had told her the other day. Gu Jingze looked at Lin Che comfortingly. "We changed to another airport at the last minute. Don't worry, nothing will happen." Lin Che knew that nothing would happen, but she also understood that something must have happened. Gu Jingze did not want to tell her. Perhaps he was afraid that she would be worried, or perhaps he was afraid that she would overthink. But Gu Jingze must have encountered something. Soon, the car sped across the street like the wind. The traffic police in front of them naturally noticed this scene. He wanted to stop them, but he immediately saw the blue logo on the back of the car. He immediately realized that it was the Gu family's car. The traffic police did not dare to look at it anymore. Something must have happened. But no one dared to interfere with the Gu family's business without the permission of the higher-ups. The car smoothly crossed a bridge. Then, it turned into a small road. Gu Jingze's judgment was fast and steady. His precise hand speed helped him to get rid of the people behind him. Then, the car turned into a small road and sped all the way to the airport. Gu Jingze knew that Gu Xiande did not allow him to send Lin Che away. Gu Xiande was afraid that Gu Jingze had already realized that Gu Jingze wanted to hide Lin Che completely from him. After all, Gu Xiande was Gu Jingze's grandfather. They were related, so he understood Gu Jingze's thoughts. However, although Gu Xiande had removed his title in the Gu family, he could not remove the power that Gu Jingze had cultivated himself and his personal guards in the Gu family. Finally, the car stopped at a private airport. Chapter 744. Gu Jingze pulled Lin Che down from the car and walked forward quickly. He held Lin Che's hand tightly. Lin Che, the servants and guards are already waiting for me over there. When I'm done here, I'll pick you up. Lin Che could feel the cold sweat on his palm. Her heart ached. She suddenly felt as if they were parting forever. But she believed in Gu Jingze. She nodded and held Gu Jingze's hand back. I'll wait for you. She nodded firmly at Gu Jingze. Then, her eyes curved into crescent moons as she smiled. On the control panel, the staff were ready. The plane took off slowly. In a few hours, it would disappear into the sky and land on the other side of the ocean. Gu Jingze turned around and watched the plane take off behind him. He picked up his phone and called Gu Xiande. Grandfather, you don't have to chase after him anymore. Lin Che has already left, and you won't be able to find him. I'll tell you this, I'm your only choice. The position of patriarch is still mine, and Lin Che, don't even think about threatening his life anymore. Otherwise, as the saying goes, a vicious man cannot be ruthless. I can't guarantee that I won't do anything to make you regret it. After a long time, a soft sigh came from the other end of the phone. You'll understand sooner or later, no need. I don't want to understand your thoughts anymore, grandfather. After saying that, Gu Jingze pressed the button to end the call. Then he straightened his hand and strode out of the green lawn. On the other side of the ocean, Lin Che had been here for a few days. She first turned on the TV and looked for news about Sea Country. Soon, she found that there were changes in Sea Country. There was a sudden purge in the Gu Corporation. Gu Jingze seemed to have been voted out of the board of directors. However, no one from the Gu Corporation came out to explain the situation. They only saw the change of the company's shares. Although the news said little, Lin Che knew that something had happened to Gu Jingze. At this moment, Lin Che felt more and more that people couldn't live under someone's protection forever. In the past, Gu Jingze had protected her too well. Until the very end, Gu Jingze still wanted to protect her and let her maintain her naivety. However, she had to be strong. At least strong enough to protect herself. Lin Che understood that Gu Jingze had been forced to send her overseas in advance. Moreover, this was not Los Angeles, nor was it Hollywood. Instead, they had come to the unplanned Seattle. In China, Lin Che followed the original plan. The studio directly said that she was going abroad to study, but they didn't directly say where she was going. No one seemed to know that Lin Che was currently living in Seattle. When his stomach was a little bigger, Lin Che pushed the trolley and strolled around the supermarket. In fact, after coming out, she seemed to have gotten rid of some things, such as the problem of fame. Here, she could be herself without worry. Seattle was too big, and there were very few people who knew her. In addition, she did not go out much, so it was like she was in another world. When she had nothing to do, she would cook at home, go out to learn foreign languages, play the piano, learn shooting, take a walk, and make friends. She lived a fulfilling and happy life. When her belly was bigger, she spent more time reading and shopping in the supermarket, hoping that her body and child could be healthy. On this day, there were still not many people in the supermarket. She wandered in the vegetable section and was choosing tomatoes when she heard a familiar voice. Tomatoes are good. Buy some tomatoes. The female voice was as soft as the chord of a piano. She turned around and saw Mu Firen, who was dressed in a dress, and she froze for a moment. Sister Firen, when the other party saw Lin Che, he was also stunned. She looked at Lin Che in astonishment. She had never expected such a coincidence. Lin Che hadn't read the entertainment news for a long time after he left Sealand, so he didn't know when Mu Firen had come here. However, what surprised her even more was Mu Firen's belly. Mu Firen's belly was obvious. She was pregnant, and her belly was about the same size as hers. She said in surprise, "Sister Firen?" She was stunned for a moment, and then said hurriedly, "Congratulations, Sister Firen, you're pregnant too. Are you taking care of your baby here?" Mu Firen's eyes were slightly unfocused for a long time, and then she looked at Lin Che with a surprised smile. "Yes, I'm taking care of my baby and didn't tell the media that I'm pregnant, so." "Wow, you too." When old friends met, the two of them naturally found a cafe to rest in. They ordered a simple meal and drank some fruit juice. "I haven't read the domestic news for a long time, so I didn't know you're pregnant," Lin Che said. Mu Firen smiled bitterly, looked at Lin Che and said lightly, "I don't want to hide it from you. After you saved me that day, I found out I was pregnant." "What did that mean?" Lin Che cried out in surprise. "No way, the baby." She stared at Mu Firen in shock. When she saw Mu Firen nodding her head in a murmur, tacitly admitting that the child was conceived after she was raped that night, Lin Che really found it hard to believe. However, it seemed that she had decided to give birth to the baby. Mu Firen touched her belly, and there was more warmth in her smile now. She was no longer the glamorous star in the past. Now, she was just a mother who was about to welcome a new life. She said, "The doctor said that my ovaries were touched and my uterus was hurt. This baby was hard to come by, and if I aborted it, I might not have the chance to be a mother again, so she didn't want to lose this baby. Moreover, since that day, Mo Ding ignored me, and he couldn't accept that I had sex with another man on my wedding night. I think my only hope now is him." She gently touched her belly with her hand. She smiled and said, "At that time, I thought about committing suicide several times, but in the end he gave me the courage. No matter what I've encountered, the baby is innocent. He is a piece of white paper, and he may be the color I paint on it. I want him to be colorful, not dark, so I want to give birth to him, educate him, cultivate him, and let him live a more colorful life." Lin Che had always admired Mu Firen, and today he admired her courage from the bottom of his heart. She had experienced so many things, pain, glory, and fall, but Lin Che admired her even more when he saw that she was still trying hard to live. Chapter 745. Lin Che looked at Mu Firen. "What are you going to do next?" Mu Firen smiled. Although she was not as proud as she used to be, she was calm now. "Of course I'm going to give birth to the baby and raise it." "Oh yes, what's your address? You live near here, right? Otherwise, why would you come to this shopping mall? Is Gu Jingze with you?" Lin Che raised his eyebrows, smiled and shook his head. "He has his own things to do, and so do I. I'll give you my address. We can hang out together when we're free. Anyway, we live so close to each other." "That would be great. It's boring to be alone here." Lin Che didn't feel bored at all. She had a lot of servants, chefs, and bodyguards around her. But indeed, it was nice to be able to chat with Mu Firen. The two of them could raise the baby together, which was a lot more interesting. After that, Mu Firen often came to see Lin Che. They often organized activities and invited their neighbors to gather together. Meanwhile, in China, Lin Che didn't attend Shen Yuren's wedding. Instead, he sent a red packet. On the other hand, Yu Minmin came. Because of Yu Minmin's arrival, Father Shen and Mother Shen were even more shocked. They even specially called Yu Minmin over to take a photo with them. They told their relatives everywhere that this president's wife was their daughter's friend. Shen Yuren's wedding was also very grand. Her wedding gown and gown were all custom-made. Chen Yuqing's parents didn't come back from America, but it didn't affect the grandeur of the wedding. Many people from abroad came to support Chen Yuqing, but the Gu family, who had always been close to Chen Yuqing, didn't come. It was said that the changes in the Gu family hadn't ended yet. They were busy with internal reorganization, so Gu Jingze only sent a red packet. After the wedding, Xin Yuran and Qin Yuqing went back to America to settle the marriage procedures. Then they held a simple wedding in America. When they came back, Xin Yuran and Qin Yuqing moved together. Mrs. Xin asked in a low voice, "You're so lucky. You moved to such a nice place and live in a 2-story villa. We're still living in such a small apartment." Xin Yuran pretended not to hear her and kept packing. Mrs. Xin continued, "Look at you Min Min. He became the president's wife and moved his parents to live in the villa." Shen Yuran stopped and glared fiercely at his mother. She felt that she did not know what kind of sin she had committed. Other people's parents would think about their children, but her parents did not. She said, "I don't have anything to begin with, and I still want to ask them for it. Mom, how low do you want your daughter to be in their family? Are you happy living in the house that I asked for with my blood and tears?" "Hey, how can you say that? I didn't ask you to beg them. It's just that their family doesn't know any better. They have so many houses, so what if they give you one?" Shin Yuran felt that he couldn't get through to them, so he simply didn't say anything. Qin Yuqing was playing with his phone outside. When he saw Shin Yuran come out, he smiled and pulled her into the car, kissing her on the cheek. Shin Yuran said, "Stop fooling around. Someone can see it." "What? Kissing your own wife is a natural thing to do. It doesn't matter who sees it." There was an email from Shin Yuran. Chen Yuqing knew that it was definitely from Lin Che. He wanted to lean over to take a look, but Shin Yuran leaned to the side. The two of them sent emails every day, but they didn't let him see them. Qin Yuqing was speechless. "I'm your husband. Why are you hiding things from me?" "Yeah, I promised Lin Che that I wouldn't tell anyone about her. This is Gu Jing's arrangement. Are you not going to listen to him?" Chen Yuqing rolled his eyes. "Seriously, you're so secretive. It's as if you want to know. It's not that I'm afraid of you, but it's always good to be secretive." Who told the old master of the Gu family to be so scary? Sigh, every family has its own difficulties. But can't Gu Jingze survive that old master? Old master is so old. Looking at him recently, I think he won't be able to survive for more than a few years. Even if the Gu family has so much money, I'm afraid he won't be able to live for more than 4 or 5 years. Shen Yuran said, "Although I think it's wrong to curse others, that's what I think in my heart. If he's so evil, he might as well die." Sigh, you'll think that I'm very evil, but I'm just saying it to you. I won't really curse him. I'm just thinking about it in my heart. Of course not. You're my wife. You're my wife when you're good, and you're my wife when you're evil. He put his arm around her shoulder and kissed her. Outside, Xin Yulan was looking down from the balcony. Seeing the two of them kissing without restraint in the luxurious Porsche, she felt even more jealous in her heart. Both of them were daughters of the Shen family, but one was so lucky, while the other was, she looked at herself and felt that she was extremely shabby. Xin Yuran originally thought that she would never be liked by the Chen family. However, when she was pregnant, she found out that she was pregnant with twins. Without any external help, and without any ovulation medication, she naturally became pregnant with twins. At this moment, the Chen family was overjoyed and happily brought her to the United States to take care of the babies. After the babies were born, several nannies took care of them together. Xin Yuran didn't have to worry a lot. Otherwise, she really felt that she would die of exhaustion with 2 babies. At the same time, after the Gu family settled down, Gu Jingze finally regained his power. In the change of the Gu family's shares, he became the biggest shareholder. The authority of the head of the family was about to be handed over to him, and no external force could stop him. However, when Xin Yuran heard that Gu Jingze had been very close to a woman recently, she couldn't help but feel angry. However, Qin Yuqing only said to Xin Yuran, "Don't worry. He hasn't recovered yet and has been taking medicine. Even if there's a woman by his side, what can she do?" Only then did Xin Yuran remember that he had a bad habit of not being touched by women. She said angrily, "That won't do. You can't even have a woman under 3 meters. Chen Yuqing shook his head and said, "You women are too controlling. You can't even be within 3 meters. In this world, there are only women and men. He can't just use women in his entire company, can he?" Shen Yuren leaned against Chen Yuqing and said, "But I heard that this woman is the granddaughter of someone. She seems to be very powerful and has the military and political power in her hands. Don't tell me that Gu Jingzi got along with her just because she has power? Forget it. Does Gu Jingzi still need her power? He's just treating her well because of the relationship between the two families. Is he going to kick her out and forbid her from getting close to him?" Shen Yuran murmured, "Anyway, that's not what I heard. People say that he spoils her very much. Alright, don't just listen to the wind." Chapter 746. In May, the flowers were in full bloom. Seattle. Lin Che pushed open the door and shouted, "Sister Firen, have you seen our Nian Nian?" Mu Firen was making milk for the baby. She walked out with the milk bottle and looked at Lin Che in surprise. "But, is he gone?" "He's not here today. I'm making milk for Yun Yun." "Wait, I'll ask Yun Yun if she saw him." Yun Yun was sitting obediently on the chair inside. When she heard the voice, she looked up and pouted. Her big bright eyes made her look like a little elf. "Yun Yun, have you seen Brother Nian?" "About that, Mom, Brother Nian didn't want me to tell you." Lin Che walked in hurriedly. "What is this troublemaker doing? Why didn't he tell me?" Yun Yun said, "Auntie Che, Brother Nian didn't go to cause trouble this time. He went to do something important." Lin Che felt that something was wrong when he heard her say that. Yun Yun fiddled with her two calves, and the little skirt she was wearing swayed back and forth, looking very cute. "Yunin, tell Aunt. Otherwise, Nian Nian will be in big trouble if I don't help him deal with the trouble he caused, right? Yun Yun is the most obedient, unlike Brother Nian who only knows how to cause trouble every day. Yun Yun, hurry up and tell Auntie. Auntie is worried." Yun Yun was 3.5 years old. She was born half a month later than Nian Nian, so she was the younger sister and Nian Nian was the older brother. However, the two of them had very different personalities. Yun Yun was obedient and sensible, while Nian Nian was sultry and stirred up trouble. The two of them grew up together, and because they had a good relationship, Mu Firen decided to move next to Lin Che's house. But today, Nian Nian had disappeared since morning. She thought that Nian Nian had sneaked out to play with Yun Yun again, but he didn't come at all. Yun Yun hesitated for a long time and finally pouted. Brother Nian Nian said that he was going to look for his father, so what? So he went to take a big plane. Lin Che almost fainted. Where did Nian Nian go? Just you wait. He was only 3.5 years old. How could he go to country C by himself? But no matter what, Gu Xinian did run away. He ran away alone. Country C. The plane landed at B City International Airport. After everyone got off the plane, they were surprised to find a child dragging a suitcase by himself, looking at his mobile phone while walking out. If a sharp-eyed person were to sneak a peek at him, they would discover that this milky-looking kid was actually looking at the navigation. Not long after, he picked up his phone and called someone. On the phone, he said, "Hello, I booked a hotel in Seattle yesterday. I've arrived at the airport now. May I know where you are?" The person on the other end of the phone thought he had seen a ghost. Why did this voice sound like a child's? The person at the side looked at the doll and asked, "Hey, little friend, why are you alone? Where are your parents? Did he get lost from his parents? Do you want me to call the police for help?" The boy looked up with his cold eyes. His pitch-black pupils took up a large part of his eyeballs, so his eyes looked especially bright, like black pearls. They were so clear that it was amazing. However, his face was foul. After hearing the woman's words, he said calmly, "Miss, I think you should be the one who needs to call the police. Your mobile phone has been stolen. Didn't you notice?" The woman was stunned. She turned around to grab her mobile phone. Then she screamed, "Ah, where's my mobile phone? Why is my mobile phone missing?" The little boy shook his head speechlessly and muttered, "You can't even take care of yourself and you still have to care about others. People these days are so boring." Soon, they got into the hotel service car that they had booked. The hotel staff couldn't believe that the person who had booked their hotel through the computer yesterday was the little brat behind them. How did their hotel manage to get through? He was alone and his age wasn't high enough. Didn't their internet system find out? However, this little brat quickly used his American passport to check in. Then, he said to the staff, "Get someone to send my luggage up and send me to the Goo Corporation first." With that said, the little boy took out a ticket and said to him, "Sorry for the trouble. This is your tip." All the passers-by in the hotel were looking at this little boy. His steps were especially confident, and the expression on his face didn't seem to be that of an ordinary child's. He still had a childish face, and he looked very calm, even calmer than an ordinary adult's. He took out a pair of black-rimmed glasses from his pocket and put them on. He pushed his glasses up. Behind the lenses, his dark eyes shone with sharpness. "Daddy, I'm coming. Are you ready?" At the same time, Lin Che had already booked the earliest flight as soon as possible and was ready to rush back to Country C. At the airport, Lin Che dragged his luggage with one hand and held the phone with the other. "Min, I'll get off the plane soon. I'm worried that the little brat has already gone to the Goo Corporation. You must stop him. This little brat is very hard to control. When you see him, don't believe anything he says in case you get cheated." On the other end of the phone, Min said speechlessly, "Are you kidding me? He's your son. How can you talk to your own son like that?" Lin Che felt a headache coming on. She was worried and angry about this little brat. She just wanted to teach him a lesson when she saw him. "You don't know how bad he is. Anyway, you'll know when you see him." Min said, "Okay, but aren't you going to tell Gu Jingze when you come back?" Lin Che paused and said to Min, "I'm not going to tell him. He's a loose man. I'm living a free life abroad. Why should I tell him? I'll go back after I pick up the child. So let's leave it at that. I won't tell anyone for now." "Hey, he can't touch anyone. You know that. Cheating is more serious." "Alright, this Yun Luo girl is only chasing after Gu Jingze. I think Gu Jingze doesn't take her seriously at all. It's just that she's not very low-key and goes to many places. That's why everyone thinks that Gu Jingze dotes on her." Min thought, "Dotes on her? That's because these people are ignorant. They don't know how much Gu Jingze dotes on Lin Che." However, Lin Che didn't want to say anything else. She looked at the time and said, "Okay, I'm going to board the plane soon. Go and look for Nian first. Don't worry, leave it to me. I'll help you catch your little brat." Chapter 747. Lin Che boarded the plane and turned off the phone. After the plane took off, she turned on the personal TV on the plane and watched the news. The Goo Corporation has acquired the Sanjin Group and expanded its territory to more than half of Country M. After the Goo Corporation and the Yun Corporation cooperated, Gu Jingze's personal value increased by 3 times and the number of supporters increased by 30%. The Goo Corporation's business empire is expanding this year. Gu Jingze personally said that he will only stay at the Goo Corporation's headquarters and will take a wait-and-see attitude towards the development of the other branches. He doesn't want to restrict his own development. The Goo Corporation's internal staff said that Gu Jingze has taken over the Goo Corporation. The original leader of the Gu family, Gu Xianda, has basically retired behind the scenes. Lin Che had known about this a long time ago. Shen Yuran had angrily told Lin Che about the little vixen by Gu Jingze's side. She was 1 year older than Lin Che and was not married yet. She followed Gu Jingze around every day. The rumors outside were very bad, saying that Gu Jingze had an affair with her. When Lin Che first started to live alone, she would sometimes feel sad in her heart. However, she gradually understood that it was because she and Gu Jingze weren't strong enough. That was why their reality couldn't support their feelings. Thus, she had to become strong enough to play her role well and not be protected by Gu Jingze all the time. Only then would she be able to choose to love someone better and not be dominated by others. Therefore, Lin Che took the initiative to stop listening to Gu Jingze's news. Instead, she enriched herself and raised her child. Although she felt a little sad for Gu Jingze, she actually believed that Gu Jingze had his reasons for doing what he did. If she couldn't even trust him, why would she say that she wanted to become stronger? However, she was indeed a little resentful towards Gu Jingze, especially after the news of the collaboration between the Yun family and the Gu family spread like wildfire. She didn't want to see this jerk. She thought to herself that she was only here to take Nian Nian away so that she could reflect on herself. She didn't want Nian Nian to see her father, whom she had never met before. Lin Che had never hidden anything from Nian Nian. Nian Nian knew who his father was, and also knew his identity. He knew that he was accompanied by the Gu family's guards, and that his father was busy expanding his business. Due to various reasons, he couldn't see him. Nian Nian was more sensible than other children, and knew more. Sometimes, Lin Che really suspected that he had completely inherited Gu Jingze's intelligence and ability, and not hers. She didn't know if Gu Jingze was like this when he was young, but she definitely couldn't control this little brat now. She was already satisfied that she wasn't fooled by him, while Lin Che was rushing over to Country C. A little brat appeared in front of the Gu family's building. He raised his head and looked at the Gu's building. It was the same as what he had searched on the internet. It should be here. Gu Jingze, his biological father, was somewhere upstairs. He quickly walked in. Inside, the receptionist was a little surprised to see a handsome little boy appear at the door. "Excuse me, little boy, who are you looking for?" Because the little boy was very handsome, the receptionist subconsciously spoke to him in a gentler tone. He raised his head and said to the beautiful lady in front of him, "I'm looking for your boss." "Our boss?" The receptionist asked curiously, "Which boss are you looking for? Which department are you from? Is your father from one of our departments?" Gu Xinian said, "Yes, my father is the boss of this company." "Which department are you from?" Hearing that his father was the boss of the company, the receptionist became much more patient. Gu Xinian said, "The biggest boss." "What?" "Gu Ting Zhe," Gu Xinian said. The receptionist was a little petrified. She looked at him speechlessly and said, "Little boy, get this straight. Our CEO Gu has never had a child. Don't come here and cause trouble. If your father is really the boss here, you should wait at the door obediently. If it's only your mother who told you this, your mother is probably lying to you. You can't believe everything a mother says." The receptionist was speechless. She felt that it was because their CEO was too popular that some mothers fantasized about him. They even told their children that Gu Jingze was their father. Now they had educated their children wrongly. The child really came here to acknowledge his father. Gu Xinian didn't want to waste any more time. He only said, "Then, give this to my father. Just say that my name is Gu Xinian and I'm here to settle the score with him." The receptionist looked at the thing he brought. It was a photo of a woman carrying a child. It looked a little familiar. On the back, there was an English name written in fluent characters. He said, "This is my English name." The receptionist took the photo. She was speechless. She wanted to give it to Gu Jingze too. But she couldn't take it. She was just a receptionist. How could she have the chance to meet someone as important as Gu Jingze? "I can't give it to you." Look, just then, a swift and decisive person pushed the door open and walked in. When she saw the little boy at the door, her eyes lit up. "Gu Xinian." She called out his name accurately and walked over quickly. The receptionist was stunned at first, then she looked up in surprise. The president's wife. The person who came was the president's wife, Yu Minmin. Recently, she had attended many high-profile parties with the president and showed off their affection on the spot. Many people had seen it, so she immediately remembered the president's wife's appearance. Moreover, the relationship between the president's wife and the Gu family was so clear that the Gu family knew her even better. Gu Xinian turned around immediately. When he saw the person, his expression changed. He was a little guilty, but he quickly calmed down. The calmness on his face was surprising. "Hello, Auntie Minmin. It's our first time meeting. Please take care of me. But I'm here to see my father." The receptionist was even more shocked. What did he call the president's wife? Yu Minmin said speechlessly, "All right, it's not our first time meeting. The first time I saw you, you were still wearing diapers." Not only had he grown up in the blink of an eye, but he was also so mischievous. He looked different from ordinary children. Gu Jingze's genes were amazing. Yu Minmin had only seen him once before. When she went to America, she passed by Seattle and secretly went to visit Lin Che. Although she often mentioned him on the phone after that, she didn't go to see him again. She only occasionally looked at him through video calls. Chapter 748. Gu Xinian said, "All right, you're here at the right time. I want to see my father, but they won't let me." Yu Minmin said, "Your mother is worried sick. Come with me now. I'll take you outside." Luckily, not many people knew that he had snuck out. Otherwise, if someone found out that Gu Jingze's child was wandering around on the street, it would be terrible. Gu Xinian wanted to resist, but when he saw that Yu Minmin came with the president's bodyguards, he could only shrug calmly and say, "All right, let's go." Yu Minmin was surprised that he was so easy to talk to. She quickly brought him to the car, thinking that Lin Che was wrong. Didn't he say that he was a little brat? He looked easy to talk to. In the car, Yu Minmin called Lin Che, but the call didn't go through. Thinking that he was on the plane, she quickly called Xin Yuran. "Yuran, don't look for him. I've already caught him. I'm going to your place now. Let him stay at your house for a few days and wait for his mother to come and catch him." "Well, don't worry. I found him in the Gu Corporation. I haven't seen his father yet. He won't be able to see him today either. His father is attending the state banquet today. He's not at the Gu Corporation." She hung up the phone and looked at Gu Xinian, who was sitting obediently by the side. His small face and small mouth resembled Gu Jingze's, but it was a little different. It was a combination of his mother's and father's genes, and it had a unique flavor to it. Well, he was even more handsome. He might even be more handsome than his father in the future. Just as she was thinking about this, Gu Xinian suddenly said, "Auntie, I want to pee." What? At this time, a child can't hold his urine. "I can't help it," he said. Yu Minmin was speechless. Was this something a child who couldn't hold his urine would say? However, she quickly asked the driver to pull over and went into a shopping mall. She took him in to pee, but he refused and said that he wanted to go to the men's toilet. She asked someone to follow them and waited outside. However, after a while, the bodyguard came out and said quickly, "Madam, bad news. Young master is missing." What? Yu Minmin was so surprised that he almost threw the phone in his hand. "What are you talking about?" The bodyguard was also shocked. He pointed inside and said, "Young master said he was going to defecate and found a place to sit, but there was no sound for a long time. I knocked on the door, but there was no sound. When I broke the door and I found, young master climbed out of the window." Yu Minmin pushed the door open and walked in. Gu Xinian was nowhere to be seen. She hurriedly asked someone to stop them. She called Xin Yuran and said gloomily, "I can't take it anymore. He's missing again. I suspect that he heard us say that Gu Jingze was going to attend the dinner party, so he followed him." Xin Yuran expressed his confusion. What did he mean by lost again? Yu Minmin quickly told her what had happened. Xin Yuran said happily over the phone, "Are you kidding me? You've been deceived by such a small trick." Yu Minmin exclaimed, "What do you mean by such a small trick? He's only 3 years old. Furthermore, his behavior in the car was especially normal and innocent. Those big eyes of his were especially sincere. You didn't see him like that. No one would be able to guess that he was so honest on the surface, but he already had other ideas in his heart. It's all my fault. Previously, Lin Che told me not to believe this little brat's words. I thought he was just a kid. All right, what are you going to do now? What else can I do? I can only find him." Yu Minmin sighed and said, "Otherwise, how can I explain it to Lin Che at the state dinner? It was a banquet that was not very grand. The people who came to attend were some top rich people, so there were not many people. After all, those who could be invited to attend the banquet in the National Hall of the Great Hall must be of high status. A few people gathered at the side and talked about it, looking at a delicate woman who came in. She was in her 20s and was good at taking care of herself. Her small face looked very tender, and she looked very elegant. Her eyes swept around and unconsciously revealed the elegance and indifference of a lady from a rich family. She did not need to speak, but she exuded a kind of superior aura. Did you see that? That's Yun Luo. I heard that Gu Jingze has been spoiling her recently. Sure enough, she appeared when Gu Jingze came today. She looks really good. Not only is she good-looking, but she is also the daughter of the Yun family of Country M, which holds great military and political power. That's the most important thing. Logically speaking, Gu Jingze doesn't care about the Yun family of Country M. Yes, but with this identity she is stronger than others. Gu Jingze is such a powerful man, so the woman around him must be a level higher than others. She looks like a good match. Oh, I'm so jealous of her. She can stay by Gu Jingze's side all the time. Stop talking. Look, the people from the Gu family have come in. Is Gu Jingze here? Gu Jingze had indeed arrived. The moment he entered, Yun Luo was already beside him. She smiled at Gu Jingze and said, "Jingze, you're here?" The eldest daughter of the Yun family, Yun Luo, was different from other young ladies. She was always unruly and had no desires, which made people a little speechless. Gu Jingze grunted and said to her, "You don't have to walk around if you're not feeling well. There's a private room inside. You can go in and take a seat." Yun Luo had been born with a congenital heart disease since she was young. She was lucky to be alive until now. Yun Luo said, "It's okay. I'll be fine if I stand for a while. Thank you for leaving the private room for me." Yun Luo looked at him with eyes that were as clear as a spring, filled with gratitude. However, at that moment, outside, a little brat suddenly appeared in the security guard's sight, holding an invitation in his hand. He had just stolen the invitation from Yu Minmin and handed it to the security guard. The security guard looked at him in surprise and asked, "What's your relationship with the president's wife?" Gu Xinian looked up. "The president's wife is my godmother." How could the security guard believe him? He had never heard of the president's wife having a godson. Moreover, it was such a little kid who had come with the president's wife's invitation. The security guard said, "Wait here, I'll go in and ask." Even though he said that, the security guard called the headquarters directly. "There's a kid here pretending to be the president's wife's godson. He looks very suspicious. The strange thing is that the invitation he's holding is real." Gu Xinian had already sensed that something was wrong. He quickly found an opportunity and slipped in. When the security guard turned around, Gu Xinian was already gone. The security guard was so frightened that he quickly sounded the alarm in the security room. "Oh no, someone broke into the banquet. Quickly go in and look for him." It was a mess outside. The security guards were dispatched to look for the missing little boy. At the same time, they reported to the inside that a suspicious little boy had run in. Because any one of the people inside was worth a fortune, they didn't dare to let their guard down. At that moment, inside, Yu Minmin had no choice but to look around, but to no avail. The people outside had actually started to arrest people. She had no choice but to run in front of Gu Jingze. "Gu Jingze, this is bad. There's something that only you can help with." Gu Jingze frowned as he looked at Yu Minmin. Even though they were both in the Gu family, it seemed like it had been a long time since Gu Jingze had spoken to Yu Minmin like this. "What is it? Something happened to your son?" she said. Chapter 749. Gu Jingze's eyes flashed. Meanwhile, outside, a few security guards went out to look for the kid, but they couldn't find him. "Where did he go? He's just a kid and you can't even look after him. If he barges in and offends the big shots inside, you'll all be in deep trouble." The security team leader shouted. "He disappeared as soon as he came in. I don't know which family's kid is from. I'm afraid he's too fierce. All right, I've never heard of Mrs. President having a godson. He obviously stole something from her. He's a thief. Why do you care about a thief?" Hearing this, everyone quickly looked around and prepared to deal with him the same way they would deal with a thief. In the end, they still couldn't find him. Someone saw a shadow from the direction of the washroom, but it disappeared after entering. The security team was furious. Someone couldn't help but shout, "Kid, when I catch you, I'll teach you a lesson." Just then, someone shouted, "Quick, he's here." When everyone heard that, they ran over even faster. The security guard pointed at the door and said, "He went in, but he locked the door. What should we do now?" The team leader snorted and said, "Break the door. I want to see who he is. What kind of god is he? He's just a child, yet he managed to fool you." The people behind immediately took out their weapons. The team leader knocked on the door and shouted, "You little brat, you better come out. If I go in, I'll beat your ass. How dare you come here to cheat? I think you're tired of living. I have to teach you a lesson on behalf of your family. What kind of child is this to be a thief at such a young age?" There was no movement inside. The team leader scolded angrily for a long time, but no one responded. He asked, "He can't escape, right?" The person next to him immediately said, "It's a storage room. There are no windows. He definitely can't escape. Break the door." The few people quickly went to pry open the door. After a long time, the door was pried open. Gu Xinian, who was inside, had nowhere to hide. He stood inside and looked at the people who rushed in. "Hey, I'm actually here to look for Gu Jingze." The few people were stunned. Then, the team leader laughed and ran over to pick up Gu Shinian's clothes. "Little one, I'll let you run again. I'll teach you a lesson this time. Who told you to be so naughty at such a young age?" But at this moment, stop. A calm voice with a hint of anger came from inside. As soon as they turned around, they saw Gu Jingze standing behind them. The narrow storage room immediately became even more crowded. Although Gu Jingze was the only one who walked in, his strong aura had instantly drowned the rest of the people. No matter how big the room was, it would not be able to fit so many people. Needless to say, Yu Minmin and Yun Luo, as well as the Gu family's bodyguards, had also rushed over. The team leader glanced at the child in his hands. Then, he looked at Gu Jingze's serious expression. His cold eyes flashed. They seemed to have been carved from the same mold as the little boy's eyes. Gu Jingze's eyes met Gu Shinian's little face. His body moved and he quickly flashed to the team leader's side. He kicked the security guard away and wrapped his arms around Gu Shinian's body, pulling him into his arms. This was his son, his son. Gu Jingze looked at him, his eyes fixed on his little face. Although Gu Xinian looked like him, he also looked like Lin Che. From this little face, he could clearly see Lin Che's shadow. Although he had always missed him, he knew that he couldn't go see them. Gu Xinde was right about one thing. A real man needs to be ruthless. If he wanted to be ruthless, he had to be ruthless. He couldn't have any weaknesses. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to get to where he was today when the Gu family was in chaos. For Lin Che's safety, for the child's safety, not just for a moment, but also so that they wouldn't have to fear anyone in the future. He gave up on a moment of happiness and was prepared to decorate himself as a man of steel to fight for himself. Until now, he had finally become the head of the Gu family. However, just as he was about to bring up the idea of going to see Lin Che and his son, Gu Xinian unexpectedly came running over on his own. How could he not be shocked? How could he not be pleasantly surprised? Gu Xinian looked at the man who was hugging him speechlessly. "Can you put me down first? You're making me deviate from my plan by hugging me like this." The surrounding people all sucked in a breath of cold air. Just who was this child? Gu Jingze narrowed his eyes as he looked at the little boy. "Your plan? Where is your mother? Is she here too? Where is she now? Is she here?" Gu Jingze couldn't help but ask. Gu Xinian said straightforwardly, "My plan is to formally ask for a divorce on behalf of my mother. This way, my mother can go on a date with other uncles, and I can have another father to call. But with you hugging me like this, I can't say some things." "Ask for a divorce? Nian, I am your father. You only have me as your father, and your mother only has me as her husband. She doesn't have any other uncles, and it's impossible for her to have any. Do you understand?" "Father?" The surrounding people were stunned. Who was this little brat that Gu Jingze was talking about? This little boy was Gu Jingze's son? The group of people were so shocked that they almost peed their pants. Since when did Gu Jingze have a son? Yu Minmin watched the scene from behind. Although she felt that she had let down Lin Che's expectations, she still felt sad to see the father and son reunited. Who said that rich families were all good people? No one saw the helplessness in her heart. Yu Minmin saw Gu Jingze's hard work and loneliness all these years. Now, she finally saw the sweetness after the bitterness. She was actually very happy for them. As for Lin Che, forget it. How could she not know how Lin Che felt about Gu Jingze? Even if he said that he didn't want to see him, he and his wife should settle their matters. She didn't want to get involved. However, Yun Luo was a little stunned. He stood there and looked at Gu Jingze and the little boy. This is Jingze's child? Hearing Yun Luo mumbling to herself, Yu Minmin crossed her arms and said, yes. But didn't Gu Jingze tell you? Yu Minmin shrugged and looked at Yun Luo. Perhaps it was because she favored Lin Che too much, so when she looked at Yun Luo, she felt that she couldn't compare to Lin Che in any way. Chapter 750. At this time, she was looking forward to Lin Che's return. At that time, she would let those people have a good look at who the woman in Gu Jingze's heart was. She didn't dare to say anything, but she came back with a child. She didn't want them to talk nonsense about Gu Jingze and this woman. Gu Jingze didn't say anything else. He carried Gu Xinian and walked out. Tell me where your mother is first. Gu Xinian said, can you let go of me first? No, you have to tell me first, Gu Jingze said firmly. Yun Luo hurriedly chased after him and asked curiously, Jingze, what exactly happened? Gu Jingze turned back and said, it's nothing, some family matters. You can continue playing, I have something to deal with. Yun Luo's face was full of doubt after he dismissed her with a few words. However, just as she was about to speak again, she saw the boy in Gu Jingze's arms look at her with his back facing Gu Jingze. He looked as if Yun Luo was a lowly woman. Yun Luo's heart skipped a beat. Yu Minmin caught up and looked at Yun Luo. She said, I'm sorry, Gu Jingze is like this. He doesn't care about anything when it comes to Lin Che. I'll talk to Lin Che later. You can go back first, or I'll call someone to pick you up. Yun Luo blushed. She lowered her head and smiled. Lin Che? Gu Jingze's wife from before? What do you mean by before? Yu Minmin looked at her unhappily. It's still the same now. Yu Minmin's face was full of sarcasm. She glared at her without hesitation. Yun Luo was stunned again. Ever since she was young, no one had dared to look at her with such disdain and speak to her so rudely. But when the person who spoke to her was Yu Minmin, the president's wife, she could only widen her eyes and look at the first lady, who was inexplicably hostile towards her. Yu Minmin snorted, walked past her and walked out. Her expression made Yun Luo feel even more strange. Lynch, what kind of person was he to be able to give birth to Gu Jingze's child? Gu Jingze bade farewell to the banquet and left with Gu Xinian. Yu Minmin was speechless. She quickly took out her phone and called Lin Che. Fortunately, Lin Che's call went through after he got off the plane. Minmin, how is it? Oh no, your husband ran away with your son. I'm sorry. I didn't control your son. I wanted to stop him, but it was too late. What? The Yun family. Yun Luo returned home in a bad mood. Yun Kushan hurriedly looked at his precious daughter. What happened? Didn't you go to the party with Gu Jingze? Yun Luo had a weak expression on her face. Jingze's wife came back and she even brought a son with her. He just left me at the banquet and left by himself. What? His wife, you mean that woman called, what's her name? She's back? How is this possible? It's true. Yun Kushan pondered for a moment. He knew that his daughter had admired Gu Jingze for a long time, and he absolutely agreed to her being with Gu Jingze. After all, it was Gu Jingze. He slammed the table. I'll go to the Gu family and ask Gu Jingze what's going on. Seeing this, Yun Luo hurriedly chased after him. Dad, don't go alone. The Gu family. Gu Jingze came back with a child in his arms. The entire Gu family was in an uproar. Oh my God, is this young master? He looks a little like Madam. What about Madam? Is Madam back too? Although the servants were well behaved, they couldn't help but feel anxious. As for Gu Jingze, he looked at the child who was standing there fearlessly. Tell me, where is your mother? Gu Xinian said, didn't I say that I don't know? But at this moment, the people outside suddenly said that the Yun family had arrived. Gu Jingze looked at Gu Xinian and asked them to keep an eye on him. After they went out, he said, Mr. Yun, I have some family matters to attend to tonight. It's not convenient for me to entertain you. Yun Kushan said directly, Jingza, what's going on? Why did you suddenly come back with a child? Your grandfather didn't say that you had any children. Didn't he say that you were divorced? Hearing the word divorce, Gu Jingza's eyes flashed with anger. Who would dare to say that he was divorced? Yun Kushan was suddenly stared at coldly by him. Although he was much older than him, this young man made his heart palpitate. Especially that stare just now, it seemed to be laced with murderous intents. Yun Kushan couldn't help but change his words. No, your grandfather was just saying. Outside. Lin Che got out of the car. When she looked up and saw the Gu family's house, she felt as if she was dreaming. But after so many years, this place hadn't changed at all. She quickly ran over. Unexpectedly, there were a few cars parked at the entrance. They were the Yun family's cars, and there were also a few bodyguards standing there. They were the Yun family's bodyguards. Seeing that someone had come over, they were about to rush into the Gu family's house. The Yun family's bodyguards were a little nosy. Miss, you can't just enter this place. Lin Che looked at them. You are, but the next moment, she saw the Yun family's logo. So the Yun family had come to the Gu family's house at night? Lin Che sneered and said to them, I'm here to pick up my son. Everything else has nothing to do with me. As she said this, she continued to walk inside. Unexpectedly, a few men blocked her way. We are advising you not to go over. Otherwise, swords and guns will have no eyes. Lin Che sized up the bodyguard. She looked indifferent. Thank you for your kindness, but I don't need it. The bodyguard immediately came over to pull her back. Unexpectedly, this seemingly weak woman suddenly turned around and grabbed his wrist. She didn't know where she used her strength, but she easily threw the tall bodyguard over her shoulder and onto the ground. The surrounding bodyguards immediately surrounded them. You know who we are, but you dare to hit us. This is the Gu family's house, and you still dare to barge in. You're not a big person, but you have guts. Although a few years had passed, Lin Che still looked like a young woman in her 20s. After all, she was too young when she met Gu Jingza, and she wasn't that old now. Lin Che looked at them. Not just you, even if Gu Jingza were here, I would still pick up my son. You can't stop me. You talk big. Everyone, let's go together and stop her. However, at this moment, Gu Jingza suddenly walked out quickly. The door opened and his voice pierced through the night. Lin Che's heart skipped a beat. She felt as if she had been electrocuted. She lifted her head and looked in the direction of the voice. As soon as the voice fell, that familiar figure suddenly approached. Gu Jingza. It was indeed Gu Jingza, but just as Gu Jingza walked over, Lin Che suddenly grabbed Gu Jingza's arm and gave him a greeting gift. Gu Jingza fell to the ground until he fell onto the thick concrete floor. Gu Jingza didn't even realize what had happened until he fell to the ground. Chapter 751. The people around them panicked and wanted to surround them. But unexpectedly, Gu Jingza waved his hand and said, "Don't move." Then he stood up from the ground and looked at Lin Che. His gaze narrowed. For a moment, it was as if he wanted to surround the woman in front of him with his eyes. Everyone looked at Gu Jingza in surprise. Gu Jingza, who had just been thrown by a woman, was not angry at all. Instead, he looked at the woman in front of him with a smile on his face. The corners of his lips were curled up, as if he was hooking up thousands of miles of romantic air. The spring breeze between his eyebrows was like the unfolding of the 6th month, which made people couldn't help being stunned. He walked in front of Lin Che and grabbed Lin Che's arm. Under everyone's shocked gazes, he said to her calmly, "You're back." Lin Che frowned. Seeing him like this, she lowered her head and pushed his hand away. "Let go of me." Gu Jingza still held onto Lin Che. "Lin Che, I wanted to pick you up in a few days, but you came back first. You really gave me a surprise." Lin Che ignored him with a straight face. "I'm not back. You better get it straight." "What do you mean you're not back?" Gu Jingza looked down at her face and frowned. Lin Che looked at him, unwilling to be outdone. I'm back to pick up Nian Nian and bring him back to Seattle. Don't misunderstand. Gu Jingza's eyes moved. He did not let go of her. Instead, he held her hand even tighter. How is that possible? Since you're back, don't even think about leaving. Gu Jingza's gaze was locked on her fair face. Lin Che looked away with a cold smile. But, do you want me to stay here and watch you flaunt your love? Forget it. I'm not in the mood and I don't want to disturb you here. Gu Jingza's face turned cold. Whose nonsense did you hear? Whether I'm spouting nonsense or not, isn't the person standing here the best proof? Let go of me, Gu Jingza. Lin Che swept his gaze over the Yun family's bodyguards and chauffeurs. Gu Jingza's cold eyes swept across the surroundings. The Yun family's bodyguards, who had been arrogant just a moment ago, suddenly felt their bones turn cold. They wanted nothing more than to find a hole in the ground to hide in and get away from his frightening gaze. Gu Jingza held her hand and said in a low voice, I'm sorry, Lin Che. In the past, I didn't dare to go see you. Although I had my own reasons, you've suffered all these years. I know it's my fault. No matter what you do, I'm willing to take responsibility. Was a simple sentence enough to let her off? Lin Che looked at him. You don't care what I do? There's nothing else I want to do right now except go back to Seattle. Go back? Gu Jingza said, What do you mean go back? This is your home. Gu Jingza knew that she hadn't had much contact with any man in the past years. Except for Gu Jingyu, she would always go over to visit him. The other person she had the most contact with was Mu Firen. Lin Che said, Who told you that this is my home? The name on the property here is yours. You bought it and decorated it. It's all your people. This is your home. It has nothing to do with me. Let go of me and return my son to me. I'll leave immediately. Lin Che, I said I was wrong, but I don't regret it at all. If I had gone to see you earlier, I might not have the courage to come back and finish what I had to do. Moreover, it would be very dangerous for you and the child. I know that even if I did this, you would be sad, but I had to do it. I wouldn't be happy if I made you sad. When I made this decision, I had already decided that no matter how you punish me after you come back, I would accept it. But you can't leave. Gu Jingza held her hand and kept talking. Of course, Lin Che was unwilling. She shook her hand even harder. She said, Can't you let go? You're the dignified CEO Gu. How can you be so unreasonable? In front of you, I'm just your husband, not some si. He let her struggle and refused to let go. Lin Che had no choice but to step on his foot. However, no matter how fast she was still no match for Gu Jingza. He dodged it in an instant, but then he saw Lin Che kick him in the middle. Gu Jingza's eyes flashed, and he quickly dodged it. This time, he couldn't let her go. He reached out and lifted her up. Lin Che still wanted to dodge, but he seemed to have seen through her movements and pulled her onto his shoulder before she could do so. Lin Che was stunned. She hit his back directly. Gu Jingza, put me down. We'll talk when we get back. Are you going to let go or not? If you don't blame me for being rude. Lin Che looked at his shoulder and said ruthlessly. Gu Jingza said, It doesn't matter how rude you are. Lin Che gritted her teeth and bit down on his shoulder. Gu Jingza stopped in his tracks. He could feel the pain, the sensation of her teeth piercing through his thin shirt and directly touching his skin. She was really ruthless. However, Gu Jingza closed his eyes and continued to carry her forward, as if nothing had happened. Lin Che bit his lips until they were numb, but he didn't move an inch. Lin Che could only let go of him and let him carry her inside. When they entered the door, they saw the Yun father and daughter coming out. They saw Gu Jingza walking in. There was some blood on his shoulder. It looked like he was injured. The woman on his shoulder couldn't be seen clearly, but it was obvious that she was in a bad mood. It wasn't hard to imagine that the injury on his shoulder had something to do with her. The Yun father and daughter were stunned. They said in surprise, Jingza, this is... Gu Jingza looked at them. I have family matters to attend to. Forgive me for not seeing you out. The Yun father and daughter were stunned, but Gu Jingza had already walked up the stairs. He didn't look at the two of them and disappeared inside. The people outside were in an uproar. No matter how he looked at it, he couldn't understand what had just happened. Gu Jingze had been thrown by a woman, and then he continued to apologize to her as if nothing had happened. No matter what she said, he didn't look angry at all. Who was that woman? All the servants in the Gu family were in an uproar. Madam was back. Although the husband and wife had started fighting the moment they got back, but as long as she was back, everything was fine. In the room, when Lin Che was put down, he felt as if he had returned to a few years ago. The things here were exactly the same as before. Nothing had changed at all. He even saw that the cosmetics on the table were the ones she had used in the past. Some of them were half-used and hadn't been touched. Although they had been wiped clean, the place hadn't been changed. Lin Che's heart skipped a beat. He looked up at Gu Jingze behind him. Chapter 752. Gu Jingze's shoulder was stained with blood. She had bitten him with all her might. Although the wound couldn't be very big, the shirt was too clean, so it was very eye-catching. Gu Jingze frowned and looked to the side. Then he simply pulled a few buttons off his shirt. By the time Lin Che realized what was going on, his chest was already exposed. His strong muscles were much stronger than they looked in the past. Because he had nothing to do at home, he used exercise to vent his gloomy mood. Over the years, his body had become much stronger than before. However, Lin Che was stunned. Why did he take off his clothes in the blink of an eye? Gu Jingze, what are you doing? Gu Jingze looked up and saw that Lin Che had bypassed him and was about to leave. He strode over and stopped Lin Che. Don't run. The moment Lin Che raised his head, he bumped into his sturdy chest. The 8 muscles on his chest were extremely conspicuous, and his bulging pectoral muscles were clearly visible to his eyes. The masculine smell was obvious. This familiar smell made her feel slightly confused. Gu Jingze, are you going to take off my clothes? This man was too shameless. He had just entered the room and he had started taking off his clothes. Gu Jingze was stunned. He raised his eyebrows and looked at her evasive eyes. He directly grabbed her wrist and pushed her against the wall. Forcefully against the wall, she looked up. His lips were approaching, and his cheeks were also pressing down. His eyes were full of boldness, and they completely pressed on top of her head. She felt that it was difficult to breathe, and the air was thin. Gu Jingze, get out of my way. Taking off is useful. I don't mind taking off. His voice was ambiguous, and his voice lingered on her lips. It's useless. There are many men like you abroad. They are tall, strong, and very handsome. But according to my understanding, the person you interact with the most is Mu Firen. As for the others, you are not familiar with any of them. Even if you are familiar with them, they are definitely not as good as me. Lin Che glared at him fiercely. He hated how confident he was right now. However, Gu Jingze's gaze shifted, and he looked at Lin Che with deep affection. He said in a low voice, no matter what method I use, I won't let you leave. Lin Che, even if you hate me, even if I'm tired, I'll still trap you here. Lin Che said, yes, I hate you. You're so annoying, let go of me. Lin Che, I'll leave this place for you. You said that this isn't your home, but this place has nothing to do with you. Actually, it isn't. This place is filled with you, your shadow is everywhere. Ever since you left, I've been living in another place. I've never come in, because this place has always been waiting for its mistress to move in. So, how can you leave? Lin Che was about to be swallowed by those abyss-like eyes, but her rationality told her that she couldn't. These were the sweet words of this stinky man. She did not want to believe them. You've been practicing your words of love quite well these past few years. It seems like Miss Yun's contributions cannot go unnoticed. She turned her head and said. Gu Jingze stared at her. Yun Luo? She's just the daughter of a friend. I only came into contact with her because her family wanted me to help her find a doctor to treat her illness. You know, because of my illness, I have my own research center, which includes many of the world's most advanced technologies. Her family is very worried because she hasn't recovered for a long time, and they want me to use my research center to help her do some research. They want to develop a new type of heart valve to treat her illness. Lin Che harumphed. Yes, just a little research, and the two of us ended up in bed. Gu Jingze turned sideways and nodded. His hand was still on the wall as he looked at her expression. So, you're actually unwilling to come back because you're jealous, right? Lin Che looked up angrily. Don't be so shameless. Who's jealous because of you? If Nian Nian hadn't come back on his own, I would never have come back. His words reminded her of her purpose of coming here. Her gaze changed. Where is Nian Nian? Gu Jingze said, I've found someone to take good care of him. Don't worry, he's my son. I won't let anything happen to him. Get lost. In your dreams. He's my son. Isn't your son also my son? Forget it. He's mine alone. It has nothing to do with you. I've been living with him for so many years. Who do you think you are? Thinking of this, her gaze became even more determined. She stared at him and suddenly thought of something. While he was not paying attention, she hit the wound on his shoulder. Gu Jingze felt the pain and subconsciously loosened his grips. Lin Che took the opportunity to slip out of the room. Gu Jingze endured the pain and hurriedly chased after her. Lin Che, don't run. I know you're unhappy. I promise you, I won't let you go again. Not in this lifetime. Sorry, I don't believe you. Lin Che pulled the door open. Gu Jingze held the door open with one hand. Lin Che moved and looked up to face him. Gu Jingze frowned. You can't leave. Lin Che gritted her teeth. She knew that everyone here was his people. It would be difficult for her to leave. She looked at him and said, You said that I can do whatever I want. Now, I want to see my son, but I don't want to see you. I can stay here, but you have to listen to me. Otherwise, I'll definitely leave this place even if I have to do everything I can. Hearing her compromise, Gu Jingze paused and thought for a moment. Then he nodded. Okay, I promise you. Lin Che said straightforwardly, Then, this room is mine. Can you leave now? Gu Jingze looked at her deeply. Okay, I'll send him here immediately, Nian Nian. Lin Che waited for him to step out of the room and closed the door without hesitation. Outside, Gu Jingze looked at the tightly shut door in front of him and sighed softly. He ordered the people beside him, Get someone to bring young master here. But no matter what, she was here now. He had originally planned to go to Seattle to pick her up personally and resolve the conflict between the two of them. Unexpectedly, he had no choice but to mess up his plan now. Not long after, the child was sent to the room. Lin Che looked at Gu Xinian and pulled the little guy in gloomily. You little rascal, who told you to sneak here? How did you get the plane ticket and hotel? If he hadn't sneaked away, she wouldn't have been able to come back. Now that she was back, she was locked up here and had to deal with the annoying Gu Jingze. That's right, he was an annoying person. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.